Missionary Society, CMS, elected to establish a boarding school in either Zaria or Kano for the training of the sons of emirs and chiefs. But the emirs rejected it on the condition that they will not entrust their children to the care of unbelievers. Wasn't it right, therefore, that the Igbo should monopolize jobs in the railways, banking, telecommunication, and other government services, as well as teachers in schools, as Professor Bako claimed, because their hosts were backward educationally, except for miserable Quranic schools? Was Professor Bako expecting the British colonial administration to employ Quranic school leaders into such exotic colonial positions just to stop the Igbo from dominating them? It is historically unfortunate that Professor Bako's idea of a militant Igbo state is nothing more and nothing less than the desire of the Igbo diaspora to collectively pursue the welfare of
Hello. In last week's interview with BBC's NewsHour, South Africa's former ambassador to the US said it was self-evident that there was racism within the Trump's administration. 2 weeks ago, the US government expelled Ebrahim Rasool from the country after Secretary of State Marco Rubio called him race-baiting politician who hates America. Rasool had accused US President Donald Trump of trying to project white victimhood as a dog whistle. Asked whether he believed the Trump administration was racist, Rasool said, "I think it is self-evident rather than anyone needing to be called out." Meanwhile, Burundi's president has raised an alarm that Rwanda is planning to attack his country. Analysts in the region are concerned that the conflict in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo is spreading to its neighbors with a fear of an expanding war. The ceasefire reached between the Rwandan-backed M23 rebel group and the Congolese army did not last. And now there is a prospect of Rwanda attacking Burundi. The two countries have had a long history of political conflicts and tension. Burundi accused Rwanda of involvement in the 1993 to 2005 Burundi civil war, while Rwanda accused Burundi of participation in the 1994 genocide, where over 800,000 Rwandans were killed in 100 days. In this new conflict, while Burundi accused Rwanda of backing the M23 rebels, Rwanda accused Burundi of backing the Red Tabara rebel group. It is 5:30 p.m. in Accra, Ghana, 6:30 p.m. in Lagos, Nigeria, and 1:30 p.m. in New York City. Wherever you are joining us from, welcome to another episode of 90 Minutes Africa. My name is Rodolfo Okonkwo. My co-host, Chido Onoma, is on assignment. Happy Eid Mubarak to our Muslim viewers. On our show today, we have Dr. Tony Nwaezeigwe. Until 2018, he was a senior research fellow with the Institute of African Studies at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and the pioneer director of the Center for Ibo Studies. He's currently the president of the International Coalition Against Christian Genocide in Nigeria. Dr. Tony Nwaezeigwe, known as the Odogwu of Ibuzo, went into exile after the DSS arrested and detained him under former President Muhammadu Buhari. Nigeria's security agencies came after him for campaigning against the Islamization of Nigeria. He believes that the unconstrained killing of Christians in several parts of the country is part of a calculated effort to Islamize Nigeria. To drive home his campaign, he instituted a case against the federal government of Nigeria and joined Muhammadu Buhari as a defendant. Dr. Tony Nwaezeigwe is the author of several books, the latest being Fulani Ethnic Islamic Conspiracy and Yoruba. Please join me in welcoming to the show Dr. Tony Nwaezeigwe. Doctor, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We have some technical issues today. I don't know how that happened, but we are happy that we are starting. And thank you so much for making the time to join us. I know where you are is late at night, so we appreciate you.
Yes.
So we typically start this show by talking about issues in the news. We start from Africa, we get home to Nigeria, and then from Nigeria, we talk about the work you do. So in the news, you had stories out of South Africa and out of Congo, Rwanda, and Burundi. But let's start with South Africa. The Trump administration recently, since he came in, he's been on South Africa's case, so to say. He's been fighting South Africa for two reasons. The first one was South Africa's position on what Israel is doing in Gaza. South Africa took Israel to the International Criminal Court in The Hague. Trump doesn't like that. And the second issue was the effort to deal with the land question in South Africa. And that has led to the dismissal or the recall of the ambassador. South African ambassador was expelled actually from America and sent home. What do you make of that? The approach, Trump's approach to South Africa?
Well, I think if I were Trump, I should have taken the same approach. Because you see, what is happening in Africa is like, people will say somebody whose kinsman is in heaven does not go to hellfire. If Nigerians in United States of America could rise up to defend the oppressed people in Nigeria. You should be. That's just the same thing Trump is doing. He has a prominent South Africa as a confidant in the government, whose interest he has to defend. Let us even look at what is happening in South Africa. Look, the Thabo Mbeki even came out to criticize the new land policy by this current president. You can't appropriate people's land. You are talking of people who have lived there since 17th century. The first settlement, Dutch settlement or white settlement in South Africa was in 1652. And you are still calling those people strangers or South Africa. As a historian, there are many African cities that are not up to 200 years. And they're thriving. The inhabitants are, the inhabitants are living there. Let us even take Thabo Mbeki carried out his own land reformation. What did he do? He applied the approach of willingness to sell. People, South African landowners selling and government buying the land in bulk and distributing to the people. You can't come and now say you are confiscating land and you are not compensating the owners.
Doctor, I'm not stopping you, but I wanted to point out that from the perspective of the South African government, the land in question is not, there are lands that are not being used, not where people live, not where people are cultivating. And I wanted you to address the issue. They argue that South African population, white population, is only 7.3%, but they control 80% of the land in South Africa. Is that sustainable?
Well, how many was the percentage of American farmers who even produce enough food and even export? What's the percentage to the population? You find that the more a country develops, get urbanized, the more people get job and get employed, the more few people, the more the land becomes mechanized, the less the people involved in land cultivation. So you don't look at Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe carried the same seizure policy. What is Zimbabwe today in terms of agricultural production, in terms of general economic development? So I don't believe if the government should take the land, they should compensate the owner just like Thabo Mbeki did. Even if a land is not in use, there are still people who hold the title to that land. So that is what we're talking about. We're talking about equity and justice. Otherwise, it becomes racism. The idea, the blame game. We're talking about South Africa now. It's not all about whites. We've been talking about the blacks, the xenophobia. Our people living in South Africa are even slaughtered, killed, discriminated against. In the same team, under the same team of trying to appropriate, yes, their property. These are blacks. And Nigeria nationalized our NMPC from share because of the battle against apartheid. Nigeria virtually sponsored apartheid, the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa. And yet, Nigerians are the most vilified, the most discriminated against, the most humiliated, the most attacked in South Africa. So it's not a question of we're not talking about Trump. Trump is able to do it because he has Elon Musk, who a South Africa who can fight for his people. How far has Nigerian government gone to South Africa to fight against the injustices being meted against Nigerians in South Africa? So let us, they just have the advantage of having somebody who can fight for them. Nigerians don't have people.
There are some people who are now saying that what Trump is doing, if he continues on this path and the South Africans continue to insist that there has to be some kind of distribution of land to Black people, that Trump might be able to do to South Africa what the British and others, the Western nations did to Zimbabwe. Do you see something like that happening? And do you want that to happen?
It's not a question of my wanting it to happen. I am not in a position to either want it or to either not to want it. Where it's a question of,
Is it right? Is it right? Like the sanctions on Zimbabwe, for instance, crippled the country. And they might do the same thing. Already, Trump has withdrawn the aids to South Africa, imposed sanctions, and it's talking about imposing more. Do you want that to happen?
Well, if that can make the government like Thabo Mbeki, because we're not talking about a former president there coming out to criticize the policy, that the spirit of ANC is that of non-racial. ANC was founded because ANC was it's not just a black party. It is a mixture of Indians, South African blacks, even South African whites. Non-racism, that's his policy. And by doing it, the same thing Zimbabwe did. They're also attracting the same, although the effect it had on Zimbabwe will not be the same it will have on South Africa, because
why not? Why not?
Developed.
If you impose sanctions on South Africa, it will cripple the country.
It cannot cripple. I don't believe it can cripple the country, because it can give South Africa some bits of economic problems, but not because South Africa is a powerful country economically, and it also belongs to BRICS. It has other groups to align with. It's just like Russia. You see, all the sanctions against Russia did not cripple, Russia.
So, Doctor, you're a historian. Do you think it's possible for 80% of people in South Africa not to have land? Think about it. The black people in the Soweto, in townships, they don't have any piece of land. Do you think it's possible for them to come out of poverty if 7.3% of the population, white population, will continue to own 80% of the land? Is there anywhere it has happened?
As a historian, the economy where the only situation where economy is built on land is feudalism. Under the modern economic dynamics, it is industrialization that gives land. If you're educated, you are well informed, there are a lot of Igbo people, Igbo people who have vast land. They're all educated, they engage in business, they left their land. So it is not land, it's not the core of the economic power of South Africa. He's only being petty. A land cultivated by 3 people through mechanized system can produce more food than the same land shared among 100 people. Okay. Yes, we are talking about cost effectiveness and productivity.
Yeah, let me ask you another example, because people look at Black Americans, African Americans, and they say that the reason why they are behind in wealth accumulation compared to their white compatriots is because of land. The fact that they were not given what was promised to them at the end of slavery in America. So how do you, and it continues over generations, and the gap in terms of wealth is associated with that. They don't have home ownership in the case of America. So people look at it and look at South Africa and say that if nothing is done, that over generations, it may take them more than 200 years to get to anywhere close to where white South Africans are today.
Now, I don't believe that. Listen, that's your analysis cannot hold, because the Indians are one of the successful people in America today. The Jews are by far the richest single people in America. The Latino are clearly taking over the American system. And in fact, the white Caucasians led by Trump fear the Latinos more than they fear the blacks. because the fear is that sooner or later, the Latinos will overtake the Caucasians by population and take over the land from them. And that was why there was that massive deportation on the Latino side. So it's not actually, so the issue is not about ownership of land. Blacks, we have successful blacks. We have successful African Americans. We have them at the intellectual level, at the business level, at the political level. There are always hooligans everywhere. There are people, even whites, who take advantage of the social security and feel they will not do anything. So I don't believe that land was a problem, because if you look at the history of American Civil War, you find that the North that fought the South was more industrialized, while the South that was based on land and on slavery was poor. So we'll be talking about how to get industrialized, and let's take, for example, the policy, the land distribution that President Mbeki did during his tenure. You find that even some of black South Africans giving the land, sold them back to the white people again.
Okay, one more question before we leave South Africa and go to Congo.
Yes.
Trump gave express asylum paths to white South Afrikaners to come to America because he believed that they are being oppressed in South Africa. At the same time, he's kicking out 500,000 Haitians, Cubans, brown people in America. And so far, about 60,000 people in South Africa indicated interest, white South Africans, to come to America. 65,000 indicated interest. And this 65,000 is out of 2.5 million or 2.7 million Afrikaners in South Africa. And they are young people between the ages of 25 and 45. What do you make of that, Trump's approach, and the fact that the people who actually own the land are not leaving? They're refusing to leave South Africa and come to America and settle. They rather stay there and send their kids to America. What do you make of that?
What people do you think own the land they are talking about in South Africa?
Oh, the Afrikaners, white people.
At what point? Because some of you, is it like some people, somebody wrote now that I'm ignorant. It's not a historian. Do you know, you don't know the history of South Africa. If you know the history of South Africa, you also know the history of Nigeria. When was Ibadan created? Most of Abeokuta Ibadan, they were created in the 19th century. Are you not telling me that average Ibadan man is not a native of Ibadan? Man, are you telling Onitsha that was established around around the 15th century or years or so? Are you telling me that the Onitsha people there are no longer, that met Oze people, that they don't have right to the land? You are talking about people who have been there since 1652. And you are telling me they don't own the land. And somebody's telling me that I'm ignorant. How long? We're talking about 1652, people migrated. And over the year, there have been migrations and counter migrations over the time. And like you are talking about, we're not talking about the Middle East again. They're talking about Israelis as people who are occupying the land, who occupy somebody's land. The whole of North Africa today, we are not, the whole of North Africa, we are not Islamized. They were not Arabs. But today they're all, painted green. The same thing with Holy Land. And the same people are telling people occupiers. So somebody, and they remember there was Infakane. Most of the people, because of the war, intertribal, interethnic war, a lot of them migrated north. Like I did study on the Nguni people of Malawi, Ngoni people of Mozambique, and Ngoni people of Tanzania. They all migrated and they're living there. And you are not telling me that the land they are living today, that Ngoni of Malawi, that Ngoni of Mozambique, that Ngoni of Tanzania, who migrated from South Africa, are no longer the owners of the land. Let's even come into Zimbabwe. Ndebele. The Ndebele group who arrivals to the to the larger group. Ndebele migrated from South Africa in the 19th century in Zimbabwe. And you are not telling me that Ndebele people are not owners of the land. Now, please, let's forget about racism in this matter. Let us be historically factual. And that is where I disagree with some of our people, in United States of America, who are, who are drunken with their support for Democrats and whatever. Anything Trump does is bad. Anything the Democrats do is good. I'm a historian. I follow things critically. You don't tell me that somebody who has been in a land since 17th century, since 16th century, is no longer entitled to the land. There have been wars of conquests. There have been changing of boundaries, even in Africa, even in Ibo land. And you're not telling me that those changes cannot be effective. We're even battling about the Fulani case.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Before we get to Nigeria, let me just get your view on the situation in Congo. It's been going on for years. In fact, Congo, since independence, has been a basket case in Africa. I don't know if you've been able to come to a kind of conclusion on why that is the case. It's a good example of where the Berlin Conference, whatever they did there, failed. And it's been more than 140 years. And Africa cannot find a solution to the Congo crisis. In the news, we heard that Congo, the crisis there is developing to the point that it's spreading that Rwanda may attack Burundi. And we know the history of Burundi and Rwanda. And it's still the same dynamics where you see the Tutsis, who are minority, trying to control both Rwanda and Burundi. What do you make of the situation in Congo, and where is the solution?
Well, I want you to understand the dynamics first. During Mobutu Sese Seko's period, the rebels, there was combined rebels. The Tutsi, the Ugandan rebels led by Museveni, they all joined hands to put Kabila in power. You understand? They joined hands to put in their Kabila in power. It's just like, and when they put him in power, they also, the same Tutsi also joined Museveni to take power in Uganda. I know that a lot of generals, like President Paul Kagame of Rwanda today, was a general, major general in Ugandan army, deputy national intelligence director of intelligence. So they combined together. So, but the point is this: Rwanda, because I stayed in Rwanda as part of my exile, I stayed there for 1 year and 4 months until the government told me to go. Then the Nigerian government said they will not accept me. The minister wrote me in particular and said that he gave me 30 days to leave. I fled to Uganda, stayed 2 months before moving to Philippines, where I'm staying today. So I know the dynamics there. You see, like Burundi, in Burundi, successfully, the Hutu are in control. The Hutu are in control. Then, here in Rwanda, the Tutsi have been able to push the Hutus out. The Tutsi are in control of Rwanda. And the Hutus that were moved out of Rwanda went into Congo DRC, from where they are now fighting the government. You get it? And in addition to that, let me just tell you the dynamics. Because they were there, because they were racially, in commonality with the Congolese, they quickly absorbed the Tutsis, the Hutus, and then alienated the Tutsis. And then that was how the M23 now came up with the support of Kagame. That is just the conflict, and also partly with the support of Museveni, who is Balankole. Balankole is almost the same thing with Tutsi, the same language, just different names. You understand? They are just the same language, but that's why a lot of people are saying that Museveni is from Rwanda, because Balankole and Tutsi, just the same language, just the same physique, just the same racial structure there. So that is the point. So the issue is this. They've met the East African Commission, settled the matter, and told the Congo government, Tshisekedi, to implement it by admitting them into the armed forces and integrating them. But it is impossible for him to do with the Hutus among them. So that is the major problem. And with the minerals there, they are also prospecting. The rebels are prospecting the minerals. So more than the ethnic conflict, it is a mineral in that zone that is attracting the conflict there more, which Rwanda has interest, even Uganda has interest, because they all have their soldiers very close. Even that was the reason South Africa decided to send their forces to support Tshisekedi.
Now, in the 1990s, Bola Ige wrote a series of essays that he called Nigeria on the Road to Kigali. I don't know if you got a chance to read that period,
yes,
but
yes.
It's based on the premise that the dynamics of what happened in Rwanda could happen in Nigeria. And so far, some people believe that we are still on that path. What do you believe?
Well, I think the reverse, with what is happening in Nigeria, the reverse appears to be the case. Because instead of people rising against the Fulani, it is now the Fulani that are rising against the majority and killing them through bandits, through herdsmen, and so on and so forth. And people are just there watching. The majority are just there watching. They're slaughtering them. Let me even bring you to the last news. They are telling us that 14 hunters were killed. And Northerners, Atiku, Tinubu were giving their useless one. Who were hunters? Where do you hunt in River State? Swamps? Did they go there to hunt fish? Because Nigerians at times speak as if they have short memory, or they don't even know the geography of their home state. I am from Delta State, and I know that we have swamps. You don't a foreigner cannot hunt what in River State? Swamps? You are hunting oil with guns? The truth is that these are bandits. Let me tell you, these are bandits that were imported by Wike in preparation for mayhem in case Fubara's group reacts violently against the state of emergency. That was just it. These were the people who were imported. Yes, that is just it.
Do you have any? Can you prove what you just said?
I don't know. I don't know what you mean by proving.
When we make say things like this, a media, if a newspaper in Nigeria is going to publish something like this, they will say, what is the proof of what you just said, that Wike imported these people to River State just in case there is violence, and he will have his own people that will fight for him? Can you provide any kind of evidence?
First, the issue of evidence comes when, before the court of law or before a thesis research. The journalist can only say, according to Odogwu of Ibuzo. and not to prove, not evidence. Which evidence did they provide to prove that those people were actually hunters, as they are now telling us? Hunting where? Where they say River State. I've now told you that River State is a swampy state. What did they go there to hunt? Crocodiles? Fish? And people just bought it over hunters. These are bandits. And with what is happening in Nigeria, I believe that any northern Muslim, any group that is found armed in southern Nigeria should be treated in that manner.
In what manner?
Kill them because they've been killing our people. Let me give you an instance. On the eve of APC convention that eventually nominated Tinubu, more than 60 worshippers, Roman Catholics, were killed in our Catholic church. What Tinubu did was to leave, rush down, and gave 100 million naira and went back. We're not talking about 14 hunters who armed. We're talking about people who were receiving Holy Communion, who were armed with the Bible, peacefully in their church. And they were stopped. Nothing happened. It was forgotten. The Catholics, the Christians did not one day come out on the street and said, because the day the church wants this thing to stop, it will stop. The day the church wants this thing to stop, it will stop. The day the church said enough is enough, and throughout, whether you're a Roman Catholic, whether you are whatever, the day you come out, they come out, this nonsense will stop. Now somebody's telling me then gone. These days, you don't even use den guns for hunting. You use pump action. So that den gun, does that man who wrote on this place and talking about den gun understand what den gun is?
Before we continue, Doc, I have to say that this platform, we don't support violence against any group. Because it's a requirement for us to continue to be on air. But okay. let me ask you, if you are saying that you think that the mob reaction, is the right way to go, where would you think that will lead us to?
It will lead us to Sri Lanka, to Bangladesh, and to other countries where the people said no. Even in this country I am today, where at a time the people said no to President Ferdinand Marcos. So it depends on the people to say, we are okay with this. We're not talking about violence. Somebody is telling me, Dengon, I'm a historian. Do you know what is Dengon? Dengon is what you use gunpowder to stop before you shoot. Do they still use it today? Do you use it again for hunting? It's camouflage. You have double barrel, then you have pump action. So somebody who is telling me, oh, do they use den gun for this thing? He does not understand the modus operandi of our bandits. It's a question of they concealed their weapons, their AK-47 in bags, in sacks, and transport them as oranges, yam concealed. And at times they come as hunters, they are bandits. By the time they get to their location, they distribute it. And when they are going back, they pack it again in the same sack bag and transported as fruits, ordinary good, and back to their location. And they're going. That is the way they operate. So that they use, yes.
So, Doc, you said you think we go towards Philippines, Sri Lanka. You don't think that we are going towards Rwanda, where 800,000 people were killed in 100 days? You don't think that's possible in Nigeria?
Well, for now, I don't know who will kill who, because the people who killed the Tutsis were the majority. But right here in Nigeria, it is the minority that are killing the majority. So I don't think that is the same thing.
Yeah, but you are saying that you want the Christians to rise up and probably do
peaceful demonstration. I don't mean arms. When I mean Sri Lanka style, when I mean Bangladesh style, I don't mean arms. I mean coming out to demonstrate and tell the government. Even in Israel, there have been demonstrations before the Knesset in Jerusalem over the release of hostages and the judicial reform and so on and so forth. Demonstration is a form of a democratic expression.
So will you condemn the killing of these 16 Northerners in Uromi?
First of all, how many Northerners have come up to condemn the killings? I'm asking you, a journalist. Go back to the press and tell me how many Northerners have come out to condemn the killing of those more than 60 people in our war. The countless slaughtering of our people. The last killing in a in Ebonyi State, where the governor shamelessly just said we condemn, because our statement, our leaders is condemn. What of Benue State? What of Taraba State? What of Nasarawa State? What of Kaduna State? How many Muslim leaders have come out to condemn them? Deborah Samuel was lynched and murdered gruesomely. Atiku's PA, who was an Igbo, condemned the killing in the Atiku fired him. That he did not order. The same Atiku is now telling us, oh, we must do something about the killing of the 14. So I don't know why you ask me if I accept or why am I here in exile? It's because my people are being killed, my people are being slaughtered every day without resistance. And you are not asking my opinion on those people who came to slaughter our people, and our people were able to resist them, even though some people are trying to change the narrative. Somebody was telling me, did I see AK-47 in their sandbag? With me, he did not understand what I said. Bandits don't travel with their AK-47. They conceal them under cattle, under lorries carrying cows to the south. They conceal them, and police don't search them. And they land in their cattle markets, where they get it distributed. And when they run, that is where they hide and conceal themselves.
So as a Christian, I know that you're a Christian, and it says that an eye for an eye. I think it was in the Old Testament. And someone said that an eye for an eye will end up leaving all of us blind. Are you saying that you don't see a situation where everybody could rise up, take law into their hands? There are several divisions, lines of divisions in Nigeria, that if something triggers what we saw in Rwanda and in Burundi too, because it didn't happen, the Rwandan genocide didn't happen in one day. It didn't just start. There were history, events, and people were reacting the way we are reacting in Nigeria, which is, like condemn it, which is do nothing about it, sometimes even encourage people to react and fight in the opposite direction until the big one happened. And they wiped out majority of their people, even men in that country. So is that the best solution to this problem?
Since you said, if I'm a Christian, first let me tell you, as a Christian, I believe in the Bible. And if anybody asks me to stop believing in the Bible, that person is telling me not to be a Christian. And the same way I believe in the Bible, the same way Muslims believe in their Quran. Mm-hmm. And it's impossible for a Christian to tell a Muslim to stop believing in his Quran. It's also stupidity, and out of stupidity on the part of Christians, to believe that what the Quran tells the Muslims, that the Muslims will disobey the Quran and do another thing. If you're a Christian and you truly believe in the Bible, also believe that the way you believe in the Bible, the way Muslims believe in their Quran. Now, I would like you to even put on the screen three fundamental verses of the Quran, which a Christian should look at before deciding on the kind of relationship that we have with a Muslim. Because let's go to Surah, Surah 9, Quran Surah 9. Surah means chapter. Surah 9, verse 122. Then we go to Surah 5, verse 51. And then the third one, Surah 5, verse 65. If you can post it on the screen so that I can read. So
you can go ahead and read. I know I'll find it. I have it somewhere, but I'll find it. But go ahead and be reading it when I find it posted. Yeah.
Surah 9, verse 123 states, and I quote, "O believers, make war on the infidels around you. Let them find firmness in you." That is a command. So fighting and killing Christians is a command by the Quran, which you cannot tell them not to do. Now, Surah 5, verse 51 states, and I quote, "O believers, take neither Jews nor Christians for your friends and protectors. They are friends and protectors for one another. Whoever of you seeks their friendship and supports them shall become one of their number. Allah does not guide the evildoer," unquote. This is Quran. We are not even talking about the hadith of Buhari, which is even fiercer than the provisions of the Quran. We're not even going to the hadith of Muhammad recorded by some of his companions. We're not talking about the Quran. Now, Surah 5, 6 says, "Had the people of the book," when you're talking about the people, you are talking about Jews and Christians, "had the people of the book only been faithful and mindful of Allah, we will have certainly absolved them of their sins and admitted them into the gardens of bliss." What is telling you is that Christians are sinners, and as far as they are sinners, unless they convert to Islam, they cannot be accepted. They cannot be let go. So when you are not telling me tit for tat, it's like telling Jesus Christ, why did he use his cane and drive those people who were changing money in the temple? Why did Jesus Christ also tell the devil, "Get out here, you, away from me," when the devil was trying to tempt him? You must look at the Bible. The Bible is very, very clear that the kingdom of God suffereth violence, and by violence shall we apprehend it. It's very, very clear. So that idea, I'm not talking about the New Testament, not the Old Testament of tit for tat. Tit for tat is all about sin. All about sin. So it's not judgment and eye for, and that is even a Hammurabi's law. You understand? Not which was adopted at that time, by Moses, but it was actually the Hammurabi's law of an eye to an eye. So that is not the issue. The issue is, what does your religion take me to be in my relationship with you? Not what I will do if you come against me. No man is a tree. Without sacrifice, without danger in life, without battle, we shouldn't have been Christians today. Even the Muslims, most of those who became Muslim by the art of sword. So that idea should not be sold to Christians at this time, because after death, there is no repentance. It is only judgment. So you better fight for your judgment while you're alive. than when the time for repentance is no longer there. The important men of the Bible were great warriors. David was a great warrior. Moses was a great warrior. Abraham was a great warrior. Jacob was a great warrior. And we also describe Jesus Christ as a mighty man of battle. Mighty man of battle. Mighty man of war. So why should you preach to us that we should now allow somebody to slap me at what, in one cheek, slap me on the other one, and then before I know it, all my head is off.
All right. I wanted to find out from you. Let's go back in history, how we got here. Just narrow it down to Nigeria. I read your papers you published about the development of language and different ethnic groups, and hopefully I'll get to that. But before then, I want you to tell us what you understand about how Nigeria, this territory that we call Nigeria today, how it will have looked like if the British, if the Europeans didn't come in. If we isolate the coming in of the Europeans and look at all the other things that were going on in Africa before the Europeans came, how do you think Nigeria will have looked like today?
Let us even look at it from, if you isolate the Fulani, how will Nigeria should have been today?
Okay, go there.
Yes. First of all, let me put one thing most historians tend to cover up. That at the time Usman Dan Fodio came up to Gobil to carry out his jihad, that the city of Gobil was a Christian state. That as in 1825, when Clapperton visited Kano, Kano was partly Christian and partly Muslim. And that one of the reasons why Mohammed Bello, Usman Dan Fodio's second son and successor, fought against economy was because he accused the Borno Empire of mixing Islamic rights with Christian rights. What I'm trying to say is that Christianity, Coptic Christianity, was already in northern Nigeria before Islam came. And when Islam came, Islam gradually started uprooting it because of the fall of Sudan, Aksum in Sudan, Aksum, and then cut off of Ethiopia, and Islam took over, and the Christians were isolated. Otherwise, by now, Nigerian, the entire Nigeria should have been Coptic Christians, like you have them in Egypt, like you have them in Ethiopia and Eritrea. That is on the on the one stage. On the second stage, had the Fulani not been here by this time, where Nigeria should have developed like most other countries, because borrowing by then, like there are many countries that the Britons never conquered, and they borrowed their civilization from them. Like if you look at the southern Nigeria today, southern Nigeria was divided into many before the Yoruba Civil War, 19th century Civil War, when because of the Fulani conquest, the Yoruba people now started fighting against. We had big empires that that looked over, superintendent over certain areas wide, even though the authorities were not as strong as it should have been. So they should have even been borrowed. They should have been borrowing like Ethiopia. They should have been borrowing like Lesotho. These were not like Eswati, Eswati. There are some countries that were not conquered. Even Liberia, we should have also been borrowed from Liberia. Development is all about, let me say, civilization is all about borrowing, right from time. Because already at the time, I'm telling you now, there was connection between Ibo land up to North Africa. For example, the regalia the Igbo people are using today, the red cap, was being imported from where? From North Africa, Morocco. The cowries were being imported. The major currency was not produced in Ibo land. It was being imported abroad. You're also talking about even the beasts and other things being imported. The guns were being imported. So through that importation, we should have even developed gradually by borrowing. Colonialism only tried to bring us together in the name of their selfish unity, were creating problem among us. That was actually what, although there are advantages in that unity, but there are also disadvantages which we are suffering today.
So, do you believe that the British stopped the movement of Islam down to the Niger and down to other parts of sub-Saharan Africa?
In fact, that was the plan of Major Borden, who was actually the precursor of Lugard. That was even the idea of the Northern Party, the missionaries who actually led, like Miller, Dr. Miller, and some, Bishop Togwell, the Northern Party, who even moved into the North with the, before even the conquest of the North. The general plan of the whole people was for the British Lugard to dismantle the whole Fulani Empire and return power to the original area, to the original owners, or leave it like the French did. If you look at the French colonial policy, you find that the French discarded all old empires within their terrain and put up their own idea. That's why, this idea of religious whatever is not so strong there until recently, when Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda and so on and so forth, and it's why, ISWAP came up. But then British government, Lugard, decided to empower the North for two reasons. First, there was no money to govern the vast area. They were borrowing from the South. Secondly, that was the period of the maddest uprising in Sudan that killed General Gordon, the British resident there. So their fear was that in order to stop Sudanese maddism from spreading to Nigeria, they have to give the Emirates free hand to rule under their supervision, a kind of independence. These were just the two reasons why the Fulani were not removed. Otherwise, had the Fulani have been removed and the Hausa leaders and the Hausa Seriki were restored in their proper places, the Hausa man has no problem. The Hausa man is not aggressive. The Hausa man has never carried Islam to its violent level. So the Hausa man should have lived peacefully with people, cooperating with Christians, people converting, or a two-way conversion without violence, and so on and so forth. So that was actually the reason. So if Lugard had done it, Nigeria should have been better now.
In the journal, Integrity Journal of Arts and Humanities, April 2023, you wrote an essay, a paper that is called "The Language Factor in the Politics of Ethnic Identity Among the West Ibo of Nigeria." It was very fascinating reading through what you did there, the analysis of how we came to be. You talked about the Niger-Congo language that was about 10,000 years ago. You were quoting Armstrong. Yes. And you talked about the Ibo Yoruba language that they separated about 4,000 to 6,000 years ago. And then Edo diverged from Yoruba. There is this controversy over which one came out. And I was reading it, I was thinking, okay, this is 10,000 years ago. all these people that we see today in southern Nigeria, at least middle belt, that you were saying or you agreed with the studies that they came from one source and they continue to diverge and separate. And I wanted to know why you fight today for Christianity, for Christians in Nigeria. Do you think about 1,000 years from now, yes. 10,000 years from now, are you fighting a losing battle? Knowing how the world has been changing in the last 10,000 years, which you traced in the last 3,000 years, the fact that we know that most languages in Africa and around the world, they are going to be wiped out 3,000 years from now. Why are you fighting for a foreign religion, Christianity?
Okay.
Why not fight for the Igbo spiritual ideas that was there before the Europeans brought theirs?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, let me correct the impression. The Edo did not diverge from the Yoruba. The Edo diverged from the Igbo. The Edo language is closer to the Igbo than to the Yoruba. The Yoruba, Ichekri and the Igala. In fact, Yoruba diverged from the Igala, where Ichekri diverged from the Yoruba. And that is why an Igala person cannot learn Yoruba. An Igala person does not learn the Yoruba language because Igala and Yoruba are almost the same. Except culturally, we are not talking culturally, the Igbo and the Yoruba share the same commonality. But linguistically, the Igala and the Yoruba share the same. Culturally and linguistically, the Edo share the same thing with Igbo. Because even when you come to Benin Kingdom today, if you remove the institution of the Oba, everything down is Igbo republicanism. Remove the Oba institution and all the chieftaincies, which were borrowed from Yorubaland. Every other aspect of Edo culture is Igbo. So if you start, so it's not related. It's not related to the Yoruba as people think about it. Now, when you are talking about Christianity, where the person, what I am fighting against is Islam, violent Islam. Islam that believes that the killing of those who don't believe in their religion is their route to paradise. That is what I'm fighting. That is the three fundamental verses of the Quran that define immutable Muslim hatred for Christians in Nigeria. These are the ones. Any Christian who read this will understand article, will understand Tinubu, that when you're a Muslim, your Islam now becomes over your ethnic identity. Tinubu is first and foremost a Muslim. And that's why, look at the current compensatory appointment at my former University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Chief Medical Officer and Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic. They were all Yoruba Muslims. Two of them were Yoruba Muslims. That is another system of competitive Islamization undergoing between the Fulani and the Yoruba Muslims, trying to Islamize the Yoruba people. Why the Fulani are trying to Islamize through their Fulani agencies here today. So if you look at it, find that Islam does not understand if you are a traditional African, if you're a Jew, if you're a Hindu, if you are a Christian, so long as you are not a Muslim, you are an enemy. So it is not, and again, in Christianity, even religion in Nigeria has its own cultural underpinning dimension. In what I'm trying to say is that being in Igbo land, if you are a traditionalist, you are still regarded as a Christian, because some traditionalists bear Christian names. So there, you are nominally a Christian. So it does not matter. So that is the cultural aspect of it. There are also some Muslims who also practice traditional religion, but they still claim to be Muslims. So here, it is very difficult these days to even define traditional African religion, specifically defined as a practical concept. You may see it from a professional concept, people who are practicing it for the sake of making money, for the sake of livelihoods. Like when you see, a priest of a deity, he's there because there are people who are coming there for adjudication. There are people there who are coming to pray. He's there to make his end meet. So it's not just there coming to worship. Within our African setting and Igbo setting, there's no defined worship system in traditional African religion. Deities are taken as agents, as angelic. Remember, what is deity? Deified. You are now deified, like your ancestors are deified. So it does not matter, if you are human or you are a developed angelic distance. So we don't have formal traditional worship. We take it as a form of social control, possibly to put the society in order. At a time when you believe that a powerful man who has money can take somebody's land and he has the deity to put him in order. He has the deity. If you're a poor man, you have nowhere to go, and a rich man, a strong man is trying to oppress you, trying to seize your property, and even the elders are trying to lie against you, you run to the deity. So deities within the Igbo context, within the African context, were actually practically as agents of social control, not as worship, as formal worship, as you have in Islam, as you have in Buddhism, as you have in Christianity, as you have in Hinduism. So that's what I want you to understand about religion in Igbo land. Are people, you get up, you pray to God in heaven, Chukwu Okike. You don't pray, you pray to Ndichie, which is also akin to, to Roman Catholic system of worship, of Latria for God, Hyperdulia, and Dulia, Hyperdulia, and other ones, and so on and so forth. So our Igbo traditional worship is almost the same thing with Roman Catholic, not traditional as you take it. Because because the way they revere the Roman Catholic, revere the saints, the way we also revere our ancestors, the way they revere the angels, the way we also revere the deities. So they're all the same.
We'll come back to that.
Yes.
I also want you to define for us what you consider Islamization of Nigeria. What are the signs that Nigeria is undergoing Islamization?
Well, let's look at it. The definition of an Islamic country is not by population of the citizens, but is by the leadership. An Islamized country is the one that is headed by a Muslim leader. What we're telling you is that, for example, the Sultan of Sokoto comes from a minority Fulani ruling over majority Hausa and other people. So that's the Sultanate. Turkish Empire, the Turkish Sultanate never ruled ruled over several people of several nations. The Turks were still minority. So number one, we have come to the final level of Islamization, where you have a Christian, where you have a Muslim president and a Muslim vice president, where the major cabinet offices are held by Muslims. The chief security, national security advisor, a Muslim, Fulani. Chief of Minister of Defense, a Muslim Fulani. Minister of State for Defense, a Muslim Fulani. Then if you also look at the ratio of Yoruba people appointed in important positions by President Tinubu, you find that 80% of those people appointed were Yoruba Muslims. not Yoruba Christians. When you're talking about Tinubu appointing Yoruba, the core Yoruba people know, the Christian Yoruba people know that this government does not belong to them. Because they know that 80% of those who are going in, look, from Accountant General, look at all of them. Any major appointment made, 80% of them, or even more, from Yorubaland, were Muslims. And this just the game of the Anasfat, part of the movement by, they believe that the Christians have been dominating Yoruba politics. So this is their own advantage to take over. And that was what Abiola tried to do. But as I said in that my paper, that the forces, the spiritual forces in Yoruba land, we never support any Yoruba man, any bona fide Yoruba person that aligns with Fulani to conquer their people. Afonja did it, and he ended up, and the Fulani went against him. Akintola tried it, and he did not end well. Abiola tried it, and he also did not end well. And now Tinubu tried it and succeeded partially. And you can see what is going on now. They are the same people who helped in the same Fulani who helped in there, also going against him. Because of that forces, that transcendental forces in Yoruba land. So we don't know what will happen tomorrow. But we know, as I predicted, as I concluded, this is the stream, this is the historical and spiritual streams of Yoruba relationship with the Fulani person. That any Yoruba person, any Yoruba politician who aligns with a Fulani group that destroyed the old Oyo Empire and caused the Yoruba Civil War of the 19th century, that led to the destruction of the society and killing of many people, will never succeed. And that is what will befall Tinubu in this matter. That will befall because he has gone against the injunctions of his ancestors. Unless if it's not really Yoruba, as some of us, as evidence claim that he must have been, of original Tapa, that Nupe origin.
All right, we are going to take a break at this point. When we come back, we will talk about what you think about Yoruba, Islam in Yoruba land, and we will try to do a reversal of role and have you look at Nigeria from the perspective of the Muslims who are in Nigeria. So we take a break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation and we get you involved in this. This is a very interesting conversation. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are having a wonderful conversation with Dr. Odogwu Tony Nwaezeigwe, who is a Nigerian scholar in exile in the Philippines. Before we left off, we were talking about Islamization in Nigeria, and I want you to think about this. You're from Ibuzu, is it?
You're right.
Yeah. Okay. How many mosques do you have there in the town? Do you know?
How many mosques?
Yeah.
We have one being built by a protege of Atiku Abubakar, Mr. Peter Okocha, who is a business partner of Atiku Abubakar. So he sees himself as the patron of Muslims, of Muslim visitors or strangers in the community. But there's no single Ibuzo man is a Muslim.
So if all of a sudden you see 6, 7, 8 different mosques being built in Ibuzo, what will the reaction be for the people of that town?
Well, you can't build an empty 6, 7 mosques without people entering them. You understand? You can unless, because if you don't just build church buildings without people entering them.
Okay.
Like I remember the Obi of Akuku Ibo, the closer town, once collected money, invited them to build mosque and so on and so forth. These people said we cannot allow it. And obviously that our ancestors will not allow. And it wasn't long. He got paralyzed, which is still suffering.
I asked that question because let's say there are Muslims everywhere in the country. There are Northerners in the south, just like there are Southerners in the north. And if the Northerners in the south do what Southerners in the north do, which is like, if I move to the north, myself, my family, and maybe a friend that I brought in can go to a storefront and open it up and write Redeemed Christian Church of Sabongari, Kano. And the church has started. We could be 3. And over time, it will grow and we'll eventually buy land, maybe build a house, build a church. If they do the same thing in most places in the south, what would be the reaction?
First of all, Sabongari has a different distinction.
No, I just use that so that I know. I'm just saying. I just use that so I know that I put myself in trouble for that, using that Sabongari. But anywhere in the north, apart from the locality, the place that is assigned.
Now, let me give you. There are some, especially in Imo State, there are some communities that have their Ezes, their traditional rulers, as Muslims. There are a lot of people, young men, who have been converted into Islam with enticement of money by Ojos Okalo and Rochas Okorocha. Young men from Imo State. So you're even talking about Enugu State. You've got Onyama, you've got Ude, rich Muslims who got empowered. I remember when I visited Libya in 2009, Gaddafi's agent told me that they could sponsor me as they did to Asare Dokubo. So I told them, no, that my community is not where I can convert to Islam. Otherwise, I become a personal non grata, and I will not do it because of money. So the issue is, people can, a lot of them those days, they use, during Gaddafi's time, they use building of mosque as a scam. They just rush to Gaddafi and tell him, or Saudi Arabia, oh, we have people, if you give us money, we build this mosque, the mosque will now be attracting people to come in. So it was scam before, when Gaddafi was alive, because he wanted to spread Islam and so on and so forth. So that is just, but Gaddafi did not invite people like us to convert to Islam. He invited us for different reasons.
Okay.
Yes.
So the other question I have is about, I don't know the history. You are the historian here. You can help us out. If you were a Muslim, let's assume that you were born in a part of Nigeria where you were Muslim, and you look at the country on Sundays, Christians stay at home. On Fridays, everybody will go to work, and Muslims consider Friday as a day that they should rest. Will you be saying that Nigeria should make Friday a work-free day?
Now, I've been to the world's largest Muslim country, which is even very close to me. I was in Indonesia long before I came to here to Philippines. That's the world's largest Muslim country. In Indonesia, on Fridays, because I stayed briefly in Trisakti University in Grogol, in Jakarta. Friday, Jumat, you go to Jumat, within 2 hours, you are back to class, you are back to your office. That is Indonesia. I've been to Libya. Of course, during Gaddafi's time, they don't work. By 12 o'clock, people are still sleeping. You understand? So virtually from Thursday to Sunday, all of them, to even Saturday, public holidays. So it depends on the location you are. And it depends on the economic sense the regime has. Because you must look at the developments of your country based on the net contribution of individual members of the society. Not just about a group of people working. So here in Nigeria, you don't talk about, now you are now talking about using Friday as a public holidays, leaving Saturday as a public holidays, and this thing as a public holidays. It has nothing to do with religion. Is Saturday also the day for Christian worship? It's not. It's not. Moreover, the days we are taking today, we are not originally Christian. They were Muslim calendar, Roman calendar, adopted by Christian, because the leaders, the rulers who took over the country, who were ruling the country, later became Christians. So eventually became a Christian matter. You can see that Muslims still count their Muslim calendar that starts from the day of Hijrah. That's where the day starts. So they still count it within them. So in Saudi Arabia, they use it side by side. But the world is globalized. If you decide to restrict yourself to Igbo 4-day calendar, for Ananko, how far will you go using to transact your business? So where everything is being globalized, it's not a question of religion today. How many countries, how many Christians, how many people even go to church on Sundays? So it does not matter, it makes no sense if you decide to now say Muslims should not have a Friday as a public holidays. Not even in Senegal where I was.
All right. Someone reminded me, someone said that on the comment section that Christianity started in Africa. Do you believe that?
It depends on what it means Christianity started from Africa. Who are the Christians? Because the original followers of Christ were Jews. The original Christianity, the original people who followed Jesus Christ, even after the apostles, were not Christians. The disciples were not Christians. They were Jews. They were Judaizers. St. Paul was not a Christian. He was Jews. He was a Jew. They were worshiping in synagogues and in temple alongside with Jews until they were nicknamed Christians in Antioch. Antioch is not in Africa. Antioch was not in Africa. So if you are talking about the time the name was adopted, it was not adopted in Africa. So you find that Christianity started as as a secessionist branch of Judaism. Yes, which now became fully developed as an independent religion following the addition of the New Testament. It's just like Methodism and Anglicanism. The founder of a Methodist, the Wesley, John Wesley, was an Anglican priest, and he died an Anglican priest. It was after his death that his members were given Methodists, and through operation, persecution, they decided to break away.
So let me ask you again: Igbo people, were they Jews? Did they come from Israel?
Did you read my paper on that?
Not that one, but I saw what you wrote about Niger, Congo, and the language and the development, but I didn't read on that. The
issue is that we've been having a lot of problem with people claiming Igbo to be Jews and so on and so forth, and not to be Jews. I don't know, but the issue is that culture can be borrowed. Customs can be borrowed. Languages can be borrowed. But we know that for the past over 6,000 years ago, people have lived in the present Ibo land. In fact, the jobs of Adebishi, Professor Adebishi Shomumo, prove that by 3,000 years before, people had lived here in Ibo land. Also, we are now talking about even Didi Hato, the archaeologist, who also excavated around Nsukka. He established that through the pottery shards, pieces of pottery excavated, he dated them to between 2,020 years to 2,200 years to 2,500 years of people already living around that Nsukka area. And when you start developing pottery, it means you're already settled. Pottery is developed by an agricultural society. It means it's a craft that comes with agriculture, which means they must have lived beyond that time. So and you have other Stone Age, excavations in Okigwe and other areas that prove that people have lived in the present Igbo land for about 10,000 years ago. So we have three. That's why when you're not talking about autochthony level, there is evidence that when you're talking of origin of autochthony level, because we are talking of three factors or three theories of Igbo origins. They also talk about the Niger-Benue confluence. We are not talking about linguistic evidence that prove that all the people in southern Nigeria today, of course, all the people in southern Nigeria, so up to the middle belt, the Nupe, the Egbira, and so on and so forth, they were once living around the Lokoja area. When they started diverging, separating, as they separated, their language moved from dialects to full-blown language. And you can also look at it, if you look at the peripheral Igbo groups, you find that their dialects are often hard to understand by Igbo people living at the central area. And which means if the separation had continued, the Abakaleke people today, the Nsukka people, the Kwere people, the Abreba people, the Eka people should have become different languages, separate languages outside Igbo. So you find that there is and there are also some fundamental vocabularies among the Yoruba, Bini, and Igbo that suggests that they were once speaking one language. Then talk about the issue of Jewish thing. You can learn it from the culture, especially when we look at circumcision every 8 days, which is Igbo tradition, which is applied among the Jews. And also, there's also evidence when you look at racially, you find out of the whole ethnic groups in Nigeria, even among the Fulani, where you have the people with the lightest skin complexion, is among the Igbo people. There are a lot of Igbo people that are lighter than some people in Philippines today, that are lighter than the average Spaniard or average Italian. some people accept, the physiognomical structure. Okay, if you look at their racial outlook, it's just dissenting, even fairer than some Europeans, and so on and so forth. So, like some Portuguese. So, with that, people also assume that Igbo people might have, but not the whole Igbo. There must have been an immigration by a group, because over time, people have been moving around. As I told you, as I stated earlier, Christianity was already in northern Nigeria, and Jews were already moving together. Moving as Christianity was moving, Jews were also moving. As Islam was moving, Jews were also moving along with them, because a lot of Jews were also employed because they were intelligent, just like the Igbo today. So you're also talking about intelligence. The Jews were also intelligent. They are creative, as you can know. The world today, that will tell the Jews the world shouldn't have been what it is today. Without the scientifically, the world shouldn't have been what it is today, without the Jews. So we also know that without the Igbo today, Nigeria shouldn't have been what it is today.
So hold on, you're saying that when Jesus was alive, that the Jews were, that the Igbos were already in Igbo land.
It's just, you're talking about 2,000 years ago.
Okay. So why is it that some Igbo people make efforts to try to connect themselves to the Jews?
The issue is this: Jesus Christ, the Jews had existed long before Jesus Christ. You also ask, how did Christianity come to Ethiopia? Ethiopia had the same direct link, just as I told you that Christianity had already got to northern Nigeria today. Even the Bachama of Adamawa State today have some elements of Christian tradition in their customs and tradition. So Christianity had moved in. They have that. So Christianity had even moved to Nigeria, to what is there called Nigeria, from the north, before the onslaught of Islam. And if Christianity was moving, who were the precursors of Christianity? They were the Jews. They were also moving with the Jews. So it is obvious that a lot of them, some of them might have come in and mixed with the people.
So why is it that the picture of Jesus and Mary that we have in most parts of Africa are pictures of white people? Because
the complexion of where Jesus Christ came from, the present Jewish complexion is white. The Jews are white today, even though there have been racial mixture from Ashkenazi.
Was Jesus white?
We're not talking. Jesus was not white. Jesus was an Asian. You understand? And for us in Africa, every Asian is white. You have Caucasians, you have Asians, you have a lot of Aryans, where the Caucasians actually come from Aryans. You understand? And even among the Aryans, among the Caucasians, you have the whiter group, you have the darker group. An Italian is does not have the same population with somebody from Norway or somebody from Holland. A Spaniard does not have the same population with somebody from Greece. You understand? Within the Aryan group, you still have differences. Differences in population. That if you are a patient historian, when you see a white man, you easily describe where he comes from. It's the Britons maybe the Britons, Anglo-Saxons may be whiter. They look whiter than some other groups. Yes, because when you're not talking about the Germanic group, because you have the Germanic group and also the Latin group. The Germanic groups are lighter in complexion than the Latinos, than the Latin group. Yes.
We've had efforts to decolonize the African literature. has there been any kind of movement to decolonize African history?
It depends. Well, I don't know what you mean by decolonization. Started actually by Professor Dike when, as Vice Chancellor, he introduced the African Historical Series, African Historical Scheme, that produced people like the greatest historians we have today. Most of them from Yorubaland. You talk of JCNN, you talk of Afibo, you talk of people like Ayondele, and a lot of them. So Atanda and quite a lot of Olorotimi and so on and so forth. Yeah, before then, Christianity, the Nigerian history was not decolonized, because even himself, Professor Dike wrote his thesis on Niger trade on Niger Delta, talking about European trade. You know, earlier historians like Ajayi, Ade Ajayi, JF Ade Ajayi wrote on Christian missions and so on and so forth. And of course, let me say, the only man within their category that actually tried to bring history to our level was Professor Sabiru Biobaku, who actually wrote on Yoruba Ifa system, Ajala Ifa system. But then from that moment, we continued decolonizing our history in Africa. Like in my university, in my department of history, from your first degree, you are instructed to go back and produce the history of your communities. Field work, you must write the history of your town as your final year project. That was during my time, before everything started changing. Now the people, you know, of course, it's not the kind of dedication we had when we were lecturers that the present crop of lecturers, most of whom we taught, actually have now. Otherwise, yes, if I give you your own work to go and do your interview 30 people in your community of all the villages and get the history of your people, you don't do it, I will not pass you.
I interviewed Professor Ifemesia. I don't know if you met him at UNN.
Yes, he was just retiring when I entered as an undergraduate.
I interviewed him, series of interviews, and he is of the opinion that the Europeans who came in, that they cheated us, that we are worse off because they came, that it was a mistake that we abandoned our cultural practices because of what the Europeans brought in as an alternative. You're a historian. What is the conclusion you are getting at? Your own generation of historians. These were the people who made the Europeans, who believed we are brought up under the missionary educational system. And towards the end of their lives, they had a different viewpoint of what happened. I want you to answer this question in the context of the bigger cultural changes in the world, that even the Europeans that brought Christianity to us are turning their back on that.
Now, let me tell you something. I don't agree with Professor Ifemesia, who is known for his humane living in Ibo land. You understand? I don't agree with him, because most of the resources we're using today for the reconstruction of our history were those recorded by European anthropologists, ethnographers, and historians. If they did not record them, a lot of sources should have been lost. What you have to do when you look at people like Noctot Thomas, go and read his series, even in Igbo literature, Igbo languages and culture, vocabulary, Igbo history. You go and look, you look at somebody like Green, who published his book in 1906 on the Igbo land. You look at even Passy Talbot, Passy Amory Talbot. You look at even our missionary G.T. Basden. You look at a lot of them. Their jobs are highly priced today because at the time they recorded those things, we had no educated people to do that. So we must appreciate their contribution to scholarship. Without European contribution, our history shouldn't have been what it is today. Secondly, I'm not talking as a researcher. You understand? Because I cannot, like I've been putting some issues on this in conflicts, in conflict in Igbo land. And there are certain facts which the Europeans recorded, which the contemporary people today, citizens, don't know about it. There are a lot of archival sources that recorded the history of our people through court cases, warrant court cases. They're all archived. They're archived. These were done by Europeans. This shouldn't have been done by people like Professor Ife Messia. But they did it, which Ife Messia himself ripped from in his research. So the Europeans helped us in one aspect. When you are not talking about receptivity, there are different receptivities to European influence. The Igbo own was the worst because the Yoruba case is different. Because in the Yoruba case, those who brought Christianity to Yoruba land were Yoruba people, not the white people. The Yoruba fresh slaves from Sierra Leone brought Christianity to Yoruba land. So these people were able, having suffered under slavery, having been oppressed by the white supremacist mentality, they came back to Yoruba land and promoted what? And promoted Yoruba culture alongside Western culture and Christianity. Like you are now talking of Ogboni, Reform Ogboni. Reform Ogboni started as, it was started by a Methodist priest who was opposed to Freemason. Freemason is an Anglican cult. You understand? Just as you have long Templars for Roman Catholic. He started it to counter Freemason. And now, as people started, it started as a Reformed Ogboni Christianity. And as people started entering, it becomes Reformed Ogboni Fraternity. That is Yoruba land. Christians doing it. But in the case of Igbo land, the few Igbo Sierra Leoneans, even in Sierra Leone today, the Igbo people, you just go to Igbo village, they will tell Igbo village in Waterloo, they will tell you they're Igbo. But all Igbo elements have just left. Most of the things you have, about 40% of what is today Creole language are Yoruba vocabularies. The only vocabulary I recognize in Igbo land in Creole is Ogili. This our spicy thing. That's the only thing that they retain in Sierra Leone in Creole that they're using. The 40% of the vocabularies in Creole language are Yoruba. Their greeting, if you are coming to it, is a cabo. Ashuebi, Iyawo, and so on and so forth. These are Yoruba terms in Creole mixed with English. So, in case of the Igbo people, the slaves, the ex-slaves that arrived, were not accepted by our people. We rejected them. We're still talking about Osu. We're still talking about slaves. Where the Yoruba people were accepting them, and this were helping them to develop, we were discarding them. And those people who actually accepted Christianity in Igbo land earlier were the slaves, were the Osu people. Those people who saw themselves as being oppressed by the system. So when they now moved into Christianity, they saw their new position, their superior position with the cooperation of the white man as the means of dealing with the situation. So instead of promoting our customs and tradition, they use Christianity to suppress it. At least if you have read Things Fall Apart, you know about Chinua Achebe's case over the killing of the python, over the burning of the church, and so on and so forth, because they came there to abuse their tradition. But in Yoruba land, there's clear distinction between tradition and Christianity, between their culture and Christianity. In the Yoruba land, in Igbo land, it is abuse of tradition in the name of Christianity. You see somebody taking also title. He takes also title. He goes into the church for a priest, and Ofeko for that matter, to bless him. You see people discarding of even their evil forests, their evil, their not evil, their sacred groves, claiming that these were the things that are causing problems to them, instead of leaving them as relics. You now have Oshun Oshobo as UNESCO recognized center. Oshun Oshobo, how many do you have in Igbo land?
So let me ask you, does that mean that you are against what Soludo is doing, Governor Soludo of Anambra State?
Soludo is an economist. He doesn't know what he's doing. How can in every system there must be Judases? You see, I've been watching them because I've been watching them. If that nonsense they were doing about going into somebody's home and cutting away their relics, their religious or whatever, I was asking them, did they go to Nando? Did they go to Aguleri? Did they go to any village in Anyamelu? Did they not go there? These are the centers of traditional Igbo religion. We have native doctors. We have strongest in wine. Let his men go there. They're going to Anambra Central, where people even abuse tradition. Let them go to Aguleri. Let them go to Nando. Let them go to Anam. Let them go to Ibo Aku or more. And do that. They can't. You can't even do that in Delta State. You can't do that in Edo State. Because that's the conflict, that's the confusion in Igbo man's identity. And once you start abusing your identity in the name of foreign religion, your respect for your people goes. It goes. And that is why your language is going on. You come to a traditional meeting and Igbo man will be proud to say, let me speak in Igbo. I'm sorry, I don't know how to speak. It's a kind of status symbol not to speak your own language. You have Yoruba newspapers that have been there over 70 years. Yoruba newspapers. You see a Yoruba man who does not understand English, but he speaks what? He speaks Yoruba and writes in Yoruba language. You see an Hausa man who does not speak English, he speaks and writes in Hausa and Arabic. And even the most educated Igbo people cannot read and write in their language. And call yourself educated. And call yourself modern. And call yourself contemporary. Rwanda, the official language of Rwanda is Kenya-Rwanda. The official language of Burundi is Kirundi. English is just secondary. French is secondary, the other way around. So here I am today. Tagalog is the official language. You can use it. You see somebody who does not understand English here in Philippines, but he's educated. He does not, because his identity is his language. So the Igbo have it. It's their receptivity that is making them to feel that Western religion and Western civilization is anathema to their progress. It's your religion. One of my students, again from Nnewi, invited me one day for her wedding, for a traditional wedding. I said, when are you going to do your? He said, after wedding, church wedding, they will not do traditional. I said, that is sacrilege. Because before any church is not wedding, church is blessing of wedding. The recognized traditional wedding in Igbo land is traditional wedding, where bride price is paid. That is why, even if you go to court, even when you even add common law to that traditional marriage, you go to court and court divorces you, that marriage is not yet divorced until the traditional divorce is done by returning the bride price. Otherwise, the woman still remains your wife and you still remain her husband.
All right, we've stayed too long. We have to get our people in, but one last question. So if the trend in the world is continues to stay that way, which means that as a society, as they develop, they move away from religion as something that most people think there are no empirical ways of proving it. We see that in Western societies. If that happens to Africa and happens to Nigeria, societies like Igbo society will be the ones that will really be at a loss as to remembering what they used to do. So like you find out in America here, a lot of people are moving away from church religion and they are looking towards Eastern religion, something else that is different from Christianity. What will happen to people like Igbo people who are already moving away from their cultures if that reality is to happen 100 years from now, 200 years from now?
Yeah, well, that's very far for you. You ask yourself, how many of your children, how many of your children can speak Igbo language fluently? I'm asking you.
Oh, yeah. I have a special case. They can, but I know it's not common, yeah. Not because of me, but they can, yeah.
Until we start having that tendency to, because you have leaders that are floating, you have academics that are floating. An academic is only interested in bearing the name professor. In Igbo land, you're a professor, you just relax. But in Yoruba land, when you're a professor, you continue publishing, you continue writing. So when you're looking at it, because I've moved with both of them, so and you develop your identity. When you can't speak, when your children cannot speak your language, you don't have what? You don't have secret in your home. You don't have secret in your home. Because there's no way you can communicate secrecy to your children in the presence of a visitor, as it used to be. Your visitor, you don't have money to buy your visitor drink in those days, and your visitor will come, he said, oh, what do you want to do? Your visitor, I will take stout. You now send your son, Emeka, go there and to Mama Nkechi and get our visitor a bottle of stout. As he's moving, the man does not understand your dialect. You speak in your talent, don't do it, or you go with, or you pay with the money that your father doesn't. Emeka will just run around, come back and say, Daddy, the woman has no staff. And your visitor we just reluctant and shamefully said, okay, forget about it. So when your children don't understand your language, how do you safeguard yourself in such a situation? I used to admire one family from Nnewi. He's retired, Ugochukwu. They're married to a French professor, a school principal. They are now in Great Britain. Within the family, the children spoke Igbo fluently. They spoke English fluently, and they spoke French, the language of their mother, fluently. Three-way communication. You don't speak to your father in French or English. You speak to your father. I remember when we were not. We never spoke to my father in English or in Hausa. If you enter the house, it is Igbo language. It is Igbo, not English, not Hausa language in our family. That was my father's policy. So we want our people to adopt it so that they will understand, even those in America and other areas. You see, destruction of your language is a primary identity. Destruction of your identity, because when you come and tell me you are an Igbo person, you give me an Igbo name and you don't speak Igbo language, then your identity is 50% gone.
All right. Your latest book is called Fulani Ethno-Islamic Conspiracy and Yoruba Subjugation, from Arale Afonja to Asiwaju Tinubu. What are you saying? Are you saying that, because recently we had this movement in the Southwest to have Islamic Sharia courts in the Southwest. Are you saying that it's inevitable that Yorubaland will become fully Islamized?
Yes. If you look at the population in Yorubaland now, Kwara State has 30% Christians, 70% Muslims, approximately. Oyo State has approximately 50% Christians and 50% Muslims. Osun State has 55 Christians and 45 Muslims. Ogun State has 70% Christians and 30% and yes, and 30% Christians. You go to Ondo State. Ondo State is virtually 98% Christians and 2% Muslims. Ekiti State, 99% Christians and 1% Muslims. So you find that it is Lagos State. If you look at Lagos State, you find that, well, Christians are a majority when you combine all. Because if you look at the indigenous, they are very insignificant when you are talking, in terms of population growth. But in Lagos, you have about 60% Christians and 40% Muslims, and that is why any election taken perfectly in Lagos State without rigging, the Christians will always win there. Without rigging, without intimidation, without violence, the Christians will win there. So that is the balance. What we are now saying is that what is starting, what Danfodio through Alimi, remember that Arena Kaka for Afonja was Arena, the commander-in-chief, field marshal of Oyo Empire. He revolted against his master and invited Alimi, a Fulani agent of Usman Danfodio, to help him fight his master Oyo people. And that was how the civil war started. He fought him and got his independence in Oyo State, in Ilorin State. The same Fulani people turned back and killed him and took over the position. That's why they are the emir today. They came as a helper. The same thing they did in Bida, Nupe Kingdom, when two brothers were having problem over the quarrel. The Fulani came to settle. And in the case of the settle, they killed the two brothers and took over the Nupe Kingdom today, where you have the issue of Nupe today. That's where the same thing they did. Without a battle warriors, the Fulani should have conquered the whole Yorubaland. But a battle, if you need to read the history of Yoruba, Yoruba civil war, find out that's why a battle is very powerful. A battle stopped the Fulani from marching down to the coast. And now they've started gradually, through state approach, pushing money, because they have access to our oil money, they have access to our oil wells and so on and so on. So they could have money to spend against the owners of the wealth. They've now entered, they tried to use Abiola, even though they did not trust Abiola. They didn't trust Abiola. The only thing they did was that the Fulani, as at the time Tinubu came up, they were in danger. The person they should have given the position was Atiku, until Atiku rose against them over the change of Naira policy. Change of color of Naira policy. That was when they say, okay, Atiku, you're even going to go against us. People like Erufai now teamed up and met Tinubu and said, Tinubu, give us this money and we support you against Atiku. That was all the time. The whole time changed. Originally, the Fulani insisted that they will rig Atiku in.
All right. Are you still afraid of coming to Nigeria? Are you still running away from Nigeria?
What you are telling me now is the situation that led me to leave Nigeria. Does it exist or does it not exist?
Yeah, because I know Buhari is gone. I don't know if the Tinubu government are there after.
What is happening to Christians today under Tinubu? Are Christians safe? You have a Muslim president, you have a Muslim vice president, you have a Muslim national security advisor, you have a Muslim minister of defense, you have a Muslim minister of defense for Minister of State for Defense, you have a Muslim internal affairs minister of interior, you have a Muslim DSS director general. It's a Yoruba, it's a Muslim. You have a Muslim NIA director general. They're all Muslims. Christians, otherwise, if Christians were talking, they won't be killing us because they feel they can kill Christians, and they kill Christians, they go away. We took a petition, our organization personally wrote petition signed by me to the Secretary of State and distributed to even members of the House that led the United States of America to make that statement on Nigeria about persecution of Christians.
Is it the current one or the old one?
The current one. We wrote to Anthony Blinken when he removed Nigeria from the list of countries of religious persecution. We wrote petition against him. And as usual with Democrats, they are of the same bedfellow with Muslims. He didn't treat it. The only thing they did was to pull down Nigeria from to pull down the distance from the website. And then this time we now wrote attaching that letter written to Blinken. We sent it to him, and we also sent to Right Honorable Kemi Badenoch a copy, begging her to help us to move this matter. And it was actually through the pressure of Kemi, because we presented it to her and pleaded with her to help us push it. It was actually through the pressure of Right Honorable Kemi Badenoch that the American government had to take it seriously this time. So it was our own doing, and we thank Kemi for helping us to push it.
All right. We are going to let our people in after a very short break.
Chukuna malugo yo biadiocha Agaranya chogo kowe bili Agaranya chogo kowe rienio Owe chuku bezie chuku Nuche chukwa busigi fegemeo Nuche chukwa busia ifegemeo Nifo solo ne asi alibazie Oboye bebe agaranya muliba Oboye wuru agaranya bibe solia Mano agaranya mua Oboye afyozie nipakwa Agaranya chogo kowe bili Agaranya chogo kowe rienio Oboye chikubezio lisa Kodili ma kodili bemo Kodili wakema kodili wanima Naino kwane we beluge beluo Kodili ma kodili bemo Kodili kemo kodili heyo Ibedwe me wanem Nikadie zibo himo
All right. An opportunity to ask questions to Professor, Dr. Odogwu Tony Nwaezeigwe, who is a researcher, a former professor at UNN, currently in the Philippines. And we've been discussing issues of Islam in Nigeria, history, and all whatnot. So let me bring you in. If you want to join us, please turn on your camera so that we can bring you into the studio. I think that's one of our conditions. All right, let me start with you, KJ.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rudolph, for letting me participate in your wonderful program. I have listened to Dr. very, very well. And I must say that I've been schooled. I've really been schooled. The only place I probably will maybe take a different detour will be on the fact that the way that the people were taken care of in Uromi, I would have thought otherwise. But if not, what the prof have said is totally up. I mean, if you are a student of history, I'm not that deep, but he's spoken in wide range. For anybody who is a lover of education, probably will have picked snippets here and there, snippets of what he has said. And I totally agree with him, and I wish him well. The only thing I probably will ask him is, now that he has given us an all-round information for anybody who wants to know what the situation of the Nigerian state is right now, what would be his advice? What would be your advice, especially for Igbo, especially going forward with the issue of Nnamdi Kanu? Do you think Nnamdi Kanu will ever get justice in the Nigerian courts? Thank you, sir.
Okay. Well, in my last presentation, I made it clear that the issue of treason is a fundamental criminal offense in any nation. And in such a case as Nnamdi Kanu's, the only thing that can solve it is diplomacy. That the day the Southeast governors want him to be released, he'll be released. And you can see that he's on the way, that what they should have done before, they're not doing it. He's on the way of his freedom. First, the Fulani judge, Fulani judge have been replaced by Yoruba judge. And you could see the tone from the judge that we already know where he's going. Because any person giving a Fulani person to judge Igbo man over the case of Biafra, it is condemnation right away, even before the judgment. Now, they've also brought a lawyer, a respectable lawyer, who will look at it. So the diplomacy, a lot of things had already taken place under the bridge. And we are seeing the progress now, and definitely it's going to be out, which means the Southeast leaders have agreed. And if you are listening to Nnamdi Kanu, you find that he has calmed down, unlike before, which means he has agreed with their terms. He will definitely be out. Because the issue is that in any matter of treason, you don't release him to go and start campaigning for Biafra again, because no matter how justified such campaign is, no nation, no leader will allow such to take place, because you're also encouraging other people to do the same. So we hope that this time is going on the path of freedom.
All right. Thank you, KJ. Let's welcome Femi. Femi, you're next.
Good morning, Dr. Damjis. Good morning, Dr. Onwako. My question stems from something you highlighted at the very beginning of the questioning from Dr. Damages. So the Israel-Palestine situation, I know you're a Christian as much as I'm a Christian, but I try to look at things as much as I can dispassionately, especially when I listen to people like John Meishama, and especially the likes of Norman Finkelstein, who's Jewish, but is against what's going on. And the likes of someone that's considered the most hated journalist in Israel, Gideon Levy, who's been to Gaza several times, the occupied territory several times. And he famously said that just for the sake of posterity, and I'm not quoting verbatim, so that it would not be said that it would not be recorded in history that some people did not speak against what's been going on. Now, the way I want you to the way I want you to look at my question, the way I want to phrase it, so that the way I want you to answer my question rather is, in light of what's happening to various ethnicities, generally in Africa, that consider themselves to be as being discriminated against, how would you position the case of the Palestinians versus the biblical story? That's where I want you to come from. And who really is there really ownership of that land in Israel as is being claimed by both sides? Is there a particular group that owns that land?
Okay, thank you very, very much. First of all, let me tell you that before this First World War, there was virtually no nation in the Middle East except Iran. All the nations you see today were created by Europeans, by Britain and France under the 1966 Sykes-Picot Agreement. 1916 Sykes-Picot Agreement, in which they sat down and decided to dish out their areas of influence. France took Syria, created Syria, because all the lands were under the Ottoman Empire. Ottoman was against them, supported Germany during the First World War. And once they were defeated, the Sultan abdicated and all their lands were confiscated. Saudi Arabia never existed until 1925. Saudi Arabia was Najid that Abu Aziz was ruling, while the southern part, the part you now have the Mecca and Medina, was being ruled by the Mufti of Jerusalem, who is the grandfather of the present king of Jordan. British created Transjordan and Palestine, Iraq, and that. So they were created. So somebody telling me, oh, Palestine was, and the idea of Palestine, the Palestine nationalism only started in the 1960s. 1960s. And I'm speaking as an authority because that's where I did my PhD thesis on the Middle East, Africa, Middle East relations. I'm an expert in that field. And so far, it is my book that is only book on that aspect on sale on the internet, presently, globally. So what I'm not telling is that by the time the British decide, yes, thank you very much, that's the African theater of the Middle East conflict, studies in Arab neocolonialism in Black Africa in 1952 to 1973. 1952 was the year of Egyptian revolution under Nasser. So what we are saying is that first of all, Israel had maintained an ethnic, religious, and cultural attachment to that land in Jerusalem, that land in the heart of Africa, and which is recognized by Islam. It's recognized by Islam as much as Christianity. And it was it was based on that they maintained it. When the British mandate was removed, was created, was dissolved in 1948, there was no Palestinian state. Only Israel was. They only partitioned it. One part for the Arab nation, one part for the Jews. And when they partitioned it, no Arab countries did not recognize the partition. I want you to understand, they don't recognize the partition. They all went to war, 1948, against Israel. Israel preferred. And when they went to the war, what happened? Jordan, the kingdom of Jordan presently, annexed West Bank and East Jerusalem. Egypt annexed Gaza. They shared it up. They did not think of Palestinian state. They did not think of Palestinian state. Jordan did not say, oh, this West Bank that annexed, let it be Palestinian state. No. It was during the 1967 Six-Day War that Israel now conquered the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and also conquered Gaza Strip from Egypt. It was from there that they now started promoting Palestinian nationalism under Yasser Arafat, who was a student in Cairo then. That was when Palestinians, they never supported the state of Palestine because they annexed the land after the creation of Israel. Only Israel was nationalistic about their land. They were not there. And even when after the Camp David Accord, after the Oslo Accord, after everything, and they said, okay, Palestinians, you have to be there, you have to have your autonomy. What we are now talking about, Hamas said no. Hamas now said that it is now from where? From sea to land, from whatever land to sea, which means Israel should not exist. Now, if Israel, the fact that Israel as a nation exists today, validates not just the Bible, but also the Quran. Because if Israel as a people today, if Israel as a nation does not exist, whatever thing we're reading in the Bible today will be myths and legends. Whatever thing they're reading in the Quran will be myths and legends. So how can you now want to betray, want to wipe out of the face of the earth people who actually gave spiritual and religious justification to your religion? It is impossible. I want us to look at it. It's not a question of one Israeli man telling us they are doing this or that. Israel has never been an aggressor. When the UN partitioned the state of Israel in 1948, Israel took their own. They went to war against Israel. Between 1960 to Suez crisis of 1956, Suez crisis of 1966, Israel was not the aggressor. Israel was not the aggressor in 1967 Six-Day War. Israel was not the aggressor in 1973 Yom Kippur War. And this time to Israel was not the aggressor in the October 7th killing of over 1,000 people. And they're still holding them. If the Hamas had released the people they are holding, then it should have been a different case. You are still holding them. And you are asking for justice. If you were Israel, if you are in the shoe of Israel, what will you do? You allow them to have their way? Now, all these Arabs, those lands you are talking about, the Arabs, we have Arabian Peninsula. The countries that make up Arabian Peninsula are the original Arabs. Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, and then the UAE. These are the core Arab nations. Every other nation, Jordan to Syria to Lebanon, which is even majority Christian, and then to even Iraq, they were recognized ethnic nationalities in the Bible, even historically. Even they still have their languages today. But they were now made to answer Arabism, follow Arabism. So there's even North Africa today. How can you be talking? How can you be telling Israelis as occupants, as a people of occupation, when the history was there? When a general of Muhammad went to Israel, went to Jerusalem and conquered the Roman governor of Jerusalem, conquered the Roman governor of of Alexandria, and conquered the whole North Africa, which were once Christianized, who are actually the people of occupation. The Arabs or the Jews who have roots of existence there over 30 years, over let me say 5,000 years or so, or the Arabs who migrated through war from Arabian Peninsula to conquer and conquest, and they're still going back conquering us. There's still the problem we're suffering today in Africa. In Mozambique, it is Islam created by Arabs. Even in Congo, you still have them. In Nigeria, here we have it. The problem today we have in Africa today is the same Arabs and their Islam. Remove them, Africa will be peaceful.
All right, thank you, Femi. Let's go to Beyond. Welcome to the show.
Oh, good evening, sir. Good evening, Dr. Damages.
Yeah, nice to have
Good
you.
evening, Dr. Tony. My question goes to us is very short and straightforward. Is it possible for the Nigerian state to be Islamized now with the present state of the country? Because you made it very clearly, you wrote it in your book that from the time of Aria Fonja to Ashwa Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is it possible for the Islamization to take place? That's my question.
The issue now is, what is the yardstick for Islamization? I've stated it. First of all, an Islamic state is defined by the political leadership of the country. That is number one. Nigeria has not only passed that test, but double by having a Muslim vice president and major. The second one is their capture of the judiciary. For 2 consecutive periods, now 4 consecutive periods now, or 5, Muslims have been chief justice of the Federation. You are now talking about the economic aspect, where it's not just we are members of the OIC. Go and read the principles, aims, and objectives of OIC. The fundamental aspect that says the promotion of Islamic values and religion. And this is money contributed by Nigerians to promote Islam against them. Aligned with OIC is the Islamic Development Bank that tells you about Sukuk or whatever. Islamic, you put your money owned by Christians, even bulk of which is produced, but you put it inside the Islamic Development Bank, and they give you rules before they borrow you money. Number one, you should not do anything, you should not cultivate, you should not rear pig, you should not produce any alcoholic drink, you should not do anything Islamic. In the money you contributed. And you think you are Islamite, you are not Islamized. And now, you are now in a country where the life of Christians are worth less than that of a cow. You kill a cow, a Fulani Muslim will kill 20 Christians. But you kill 20 Christians, nothing happens. Look at that, talking about 14 people slaughtered. Even Atiku, of all the person, Atiku, whose first daughter converted to Christianity, and for over 20 years, he rejected his first daughter for converting to Christianity. And the same Atiku wants to be president of Nigeria, and many Christians are foolishly following him. You don't query, you don't ask questions. And you are telling me you are being Islamized? You are being Islamized, people are now being killed, and not. Now tell me, since the time of Buhari to this moment, how many Fulani bandits, how many bandits, those even Boko Haram people caught, arrested, have been brought before the court of law and tried for treason, tried for murder?
No. They were reinstated into the Nigerian army.
You see everybody here, you commit one offense, you are brought to the same court and tried. Now, they now have their own, what they call reformation. You get a murderer who killed and maimed people, kidnapped by ransom. You put them, feed him very well, and now tell him he's reformed. Give him fine clothes and allow him to go. I don't know if you understand the extent of evil, that is going place in Nigeria in terms of justice. Putrid, smelling, decaying justice. When people don't have values today, even our Christian leaders have no values. It's like they are hypnotized. You kill 200 Christians today, you're a problem. There's no problem for you. Nobody talks. Every moment of night, Christians are being slaughtered in Benue State and their land taken over. Kaduna still dissenting. Nobody talks. 2 traditional rulers from Ekiti were slaughtered by these people. It ended that way. No demonstrations, nothing. What stops? I don't know. What crops the Christians? You go to church every day, you pray. God help us. You collect tithe, they do everything. Pastor, if you cannot protect the people, you cannot protect your flock physically, how can you lead them to heaven? As I've always said, if we want this nonsense to stop, it's a question of people coming out to ask the question, why the killings? Let the police kill all the people. But people like Kuka, who is collecting appointments, cannot do it. People like Adeboye, who is receiving patronage through Tinubu's, cannot do it. There are even a lot of them. People like Kumuyi, who are so sympathetic because Tinubu gives him a lot of money. Or Bakare, who was a Muslim, he still has sympathy for these people. So they cannot lead the protest. So we have a problem with the Christian leadership who don't know that, not that it is Islam, it's no longer state Islamization. It is practical Islamization, where Christians are killed and no law and justice takes place. And then when Muslims are killed, it becomes a case. It is disgusting that bandits. I was once arrested by a northern police officer, stopped from my car because he saw a machete at the side of my car. Because as Odogwu, I won't be traveling without having machete in my. That is part of my insignia. And again, it's not everybody can harass me. And before you harass me on the way, you must have come to a certain level in your weaponization. The policeman said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Why?" He said, "That is a weapon. Why should I carry it?" You are telling a lecturer in his car driving, why did he put machete? Not gun. They see people carrying AK-47 moving around, kidnapping and killing. A prelate of Methodist Church was kidnapped very close to his hometown, Ihube. They paid over 100 million to release him and the Bishop of Owerri Diocese and his other people. We're not talking about the people in Hausa land or Fulani land. We're not talking in your hometown. And our people are sleeping and you're asking me, are we being Islamized? Islamization, what is it? The height of Islamization is when you are killed, discriminated against, and you like the resistance. You like the spirit and the strength to resist it. That is the height of Islamization. And Nigeria has come to that level.
All right, thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate your answers.
All right, thank you, Beyond. Let's go to Tony.
Greetings, Dr. Damages and viewers. Odogwu Buzo, I greet you, sir.
Thank you, my namesake, except that you try to Africanize your own.
Well, you know, Mr. Andrew Nwaezeigwe, I think he's late now, has first mentioned you to me, and I'm pleased to be speaking with you here on the platform. He has told me that you have very radical views. So, from what I see here, you've given us a mouthful, some, you know, very, very instructive and educative. Some I find very controversial, but just not to waste time. I really want to ask, you know, when you talked about the lynching of the 16 people in Uromi, you seem to justify that action. And I was wondering, even in spite of all that you have explained, the panel of justice in our jurisprudence is that you are innocent until proven guilty by a court of competent jurisdiction. So, looking at it from that perspective, do you still think that it was good for those 16 people to have been lynched and killed the way they did?
First, I don't know the jurisdiction you're talking about. Is it Nigerian jurisdiction or American jurisdiction or European jurisdiction?
Of course, the incident took place in Nigeria, so I'm talking about Nigeria.
No, it doesn't work in Nigeria. Even in Nigeria, you are judged guilty before you are proven yes otherwise. That's the Nigerian law. You are arrested by the police, detained, and do everything, and even refuse to be granted bail until the church proves otherwise. At times, people serve even more than the number of years they should serve for their crime while in detention. That is Nigerian time. So let us not go into formal law, because we have the most corrupt judiciary in the whole world in Nigeria. So we are not talking about people who are unable to try one Fulani bandit or Fulani herdsman who committed murder. We are not finding it hard to see none. You have not tried them. Terrorists, you bring terrorists, you give them, feed them, give them clothes, and tell me you are reforming them, they go back to the group. So why can't people join the rank and file? If being a Boko Haram, if being Aspa, if being a bandit, after my exploit, I will now come and say, oh my God, I'm repented, and you accept me, and even give me food, give me money to establish. Is it not lucrative? Are you not making banditry? Are you not making insurgency? Are you not making terrorism lucrative for the people there? Because they are short. If they survive the battle, they come back, they're arrested, they're safe. So is that the justice you are talking about? You are not talking about people who have been raided, they've been kidnapped, they've been killed in their farms. And here you see the same people armed in whatever arms they carry, and telling us that they went for hunting in River State. Which River State area did they go for hunting? For Christ's sake, I am from Delta State. I'm from Niger Delta. And in fact, from my town, Iguzo, you have swamps up to Abo, swamps up to Atani, up to Oko, up to up to Abo, up to Abala and all that. From my town, if you look at the map, we have boundary with Abala.
I know that area very well. I'm from that area.
So
I know very well.
River State, that is even where you have mangrove swamps, where you have where you cannot even move through. People who don't even know river, who don't know how to swim, are telling us that they went there. Where did they have? Which animal did they kill? And I said it, that these are the bandits. What they do is that, you see, I lived in the north. I schooled in the north. I interacted with them. What they do is that when they carry cow, those trailers that load cows, underneath are arms and ammunition. And the people that own them have already gone. To stop police harassment, they will come with dengon. You know what is dengon? You put is it a ball, a bicycle ball, water or whatever, Boris, whatever, inside, and pump it with gunpowder. Dengon is different from barrel gun. So you are telling me dengon you're using to go and hunting when you have a pump action. Which animal would you kill? Pig or antelope? These are terrorists. Let them come and tell us where they went to rivers to hunt. These were the people imported by Mwike to help him quell any riot in case Fubara's group rose up against the state of emergency. And when everything now appears to be stabilized, they now went away. Like all these bandits operating in Zamfara and areas were imported from West Africa, Mali, Senegal, and Guinea, and so on and so forth. They were imported during the election, 2015 election, preparing with hope that Jonathan will resist the election so that they will cause mayhem on the Christians. And Jonathan knew about it. And he said, I accepted defeat. He accepted defeat. And they no longer know what to do with the people they brought. They now give them license to continue rampaging. And that is why Sultan of Sokoto, when he spoke last, said, banditry will last about 10 years to end. That was what he said. And I tell them, give me position of president in Nigeria. 3 months, everybody will find his own position. Everybody will find his own level. because this banditry is business. Business for the government, insurgents business for the government, because you know the amount of money they involve in purchase of arms, you know the amount of money involved in security, votes. So those areas, when you have banditry, it means you give the governors the position to put excess money for security votes. And security votes under Nigerian constitution are not accountable. So it is business. Stop insurgency, stop banditry. There will be no contract for arm purchase, light arm purchase by the chief of army staff, by the chief of defense staff, and other by minister of defense and other concerns. So it is business.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Richard. Richard, you're next.
Yeah, good evening, my people. Dr. Nwankwo, good evening. This is a very interesting, somebody like Mazi Nande kind of preaching. That is very, very interesting. I like people who call a spade, people who are courageous enough to say how it is. That is how an Igbo man is seen, used to be, fearless before your enemy, before your oppressors. And that's why they chase you away from Nigeria, because they know what you are talking is the truth. Somebody was talking about Islamization. Abuja, the federal capital of Nigeria, has a mufti. And in Islam, any city that has a mufti is an Islamic state. And the senators Nigerian senators or Senate has to confirm that mufti of Abuja. So when somebody is talking about Islamization is not possible, Nigeria is an Islamic country because the capital of Nigeria is Abuja, and that Abuja is under a mufti instead of under a mayor. So I lived in the north. And when what happened in Uromi was, I had jungle justice. But how many jungle justice have we at least seen happening in the north? How many? Thousands of them, and nobody. Ariwa, big men, politicians, they have never condemned such heinous crimes against, even not Igbo people, against their own people, against their own northerners. But look at the rush. Look at how they rashly condemned this and putting pressure on the governor of Edo State. Nigeria, we have to discuss Nigeria. We have to discuss Nigeria. So, Doc, my question is, did you leave Nigeria because of what you are saying, or what happened? Why did you leave Nigeria? Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, I knew beforehand what will happen because I was in Libya in 2009, 2010. And in 2013, I was in Channels, Sunrise, Channel Television, Sunrise, on security situation in Nigeria. When the whole thing was beginning under Jonathan, I told them that what Nigeria will experience is online. I told them what Nigeria will experience will be little compared to what happened in Chad. And here it is. In 2016, a former student, because I was actually popular among my students, and even today I connect with a former student who was a DSSS man, rushed to me and told me this was what will happen. That under Buhari, Nigeria will be under cure. They will give the bandits license to kidnap because they cannot pay them. Government cannot employ those people they invited to counter Jonathan during the election. So they're going to give them that there will be conflict too, and they're going to use them as weapons of Islamization. That's what he just told me because he understood me. He just left. I don't even know his name now. I've forgotten his name. because I taught him 10 years before then. 10 years before then, when he came, he was an officer. So I went, I met Okwadike Igbuku. I talked to him. I met Red Miranda Biscan. I said, this what is going to happen to us, to Nigerians. I told him, Okwadike was in Abuja. He said, okay, you make contact. I went to Red Miranda Biscan. Biscan now directed me to the east to meet the chairman of one man, son of FGN Okoye, so then chairman of South East Economic Forum, to discuss. I told him, he said it doesn't concern him. I said, okay, let me go and meet my brother Bishop Chukwuma, Archbishop Chukwuma. Before I got to Archbishop Chukwuma, he has phoned Archbishop Chukwuma as an Anglican that I should not listen to me. When I came, Chukwuma said I have no business to do with it. I was rejected by Igbo people. And now went to a Yoruba man and told him this is what is happening. The Yoruba man trusted me. He said, Tony, what do you want to do? I said, I want to go to court. He said, okay, go and get a lawyer and come back. I got a lawyer and came back. And he gave me 3 million naira cash to start the case. And I filed it as a federal high court, challenging Buhari federal government on Islamization policies, presenting, and that was after Buhari put Nigeria into the Islamized military coalition, which was a way of, bringing up fallback in case the Nigerian Christians revolt against him. And I put Nigeria into Muslim military coalition, and no Christian raised eyebrow, nobody protested, they just slept, clapping, praising God. Jesus come and help us in heaven, and so on. I filed the case in Asaba High Court. I invited Kelechi, my friend from Imo State. Kelechi, now they used my promising senior advocate of Nigeria, and he invited me, he wanted to hand me over to DSSS, my lawyer. It was at that moment that Asimota, senior advocate of Nigeria from Benin, now heard about the case and intervened and told me, Tony, my boy, I will take the case free of charge. And Asimota was there when Professor Nwaezeigwe, our late Professor Nwaezeigwe, heard about it, Ben Nwaezeigwe. And Ben Nwaezeigwe also came and took over. Asimota said, since Ben Nwaezeigwe was a senior, he should not be leading. So it was at that time they came to arrest me in Asaba. They couldn't. I abandoned my school. And they traced me. I now went to Bonsac, interior of Asaba, and rented an apartment and hid there. They traced me. They could not do it until they now took the matter transfer the matter to Abuja, expecting me to come. They stopped my salary. And in Nsukka, even they were telling the people in personnel, paying my salary, that I should come physically to receive my salary. I don't need the salary. And I abandoned it since January 2017. They stopped my salary. And then I went into hiding. So that was how I went into hiding, because actually they came, the point is that my name was bigger than my body. That was actually what saved me. My name was bigger than my body. Because you may be talking about me. I was in a trackers one day, students were discussing about me. They didn't know I was in the bus, but they didn't know I was there. You understand? So I came to, they sent people to arrest me in Abuja, in the court. So I came with, I didn't come with my car because I know my car was a signature for them to know, BMW. So they will know. So I came with a taxi man. 3 hefty men were there. I told this taxi man, I moved through. Simple, just nothing. I took the case matter, I adjourned the case. The judge was not there. I came back, they were still standing, I left. When I left, they went to ask the man. So when I came in, the court clerk was telling me, where did you come to? I said, from that place. I said, did I say, I'm an assessor of people? He said, I said, what was it? I said, nothing. He just gave me the date. They were still standing there. I left. So when they went back and asked him, hasn't the man come to collect the date? So the man has come and collected the date. So it was after that, January 2018, that they now went after me in full force. And it was in the from Lagos, everywhere, so on and so forth. It was the process I got fractured through a sabotage of a friend. And I went into hiding for 5 months, treating until, without knowing that my one side of my femur had broken. So it was from that I now escaped through Cameroon and moved into a total journey that led me through Niger Republic, Central African Republic, back to Cameroon, to Niger, Burkina Faso, to Benin, to Togo, to Ghana, where I stayed 6 months. I slept under a bridge in Nkrumah Circle for 6 months. Nobody agreed to accept me in. Until a Yoruba friend, supporter, a lady, Professor Fumilayo Adesina David, contacted another professor in Cape Coast University, Professor Bonsom, who came there and gave me flight tickets to escape to Sierra Leone. Because while I was in that place, they tried several times to kill me and kidnap me in Ghana. I ran to the police rejected me and drove me away in Ghana, that they will not take care of me. Until I fled to Cape Coast and the man helped me. I took a flight to Sierra Leone. So from Sierra Leone, it was terrible again. I took a flight, I took by road, moved through Guinea-Bissau, Gambia to Senegal, where I stay again. They tried to kill me. I ran to St. Louis. The police said they rejected me, they won't take care of me. The policeman said, why should I be fighting Christians and I'm coming to a Muslim country? Drove me from the police station. And luckily enough, I fled to Mali, from Mali to Burkina Faso, from Burkina Faso to Togo, where Togo government helped me and said they knew the problem in Nigeria and gave me a refugee status immediately to let me escape. So they gave me their passport. With Togolese passport, I fled to Rwanda. In Rwanda, after 1 year and 4 months, the government said I should not stay again, and they took me away. They chased me away, gave me 30 days to leave. With my clutches, I held my clutches for 6 years and 3 months and 4 months. I was working on clutches. From there to Uganda. In Uganda, the government said they didn't want me again. From there, I now fled to Philippines, which is actually the only Christian country in Southeast Asia. And here the country was magnanimous to me. Within a year and 6 months, under a year and 6 months, they granted me full status as a refugee and even sent me to hospital for surgery, orthopedic surgery, that I can walk a bit now without clutches. So I've been very grateful to the Republic of Philippines, because without them, I should still be walking with my clutches after 6 and 4 years in pain.
Wow, that is very, very interesting. That's why I asked this question, because I have read about you before from University of Michigan. They called you a very radical Africanist. That's what they called you. Because what our Igbo people don't understand about Nigeria, we're still living in denial. Igbo people, mostly the educated ones, because we are not educated. If I were educated like you, I would be maybe more radical like you. But the problem we have with our Igbo intellectuals that are living in denial, they are not, let me tell you, what we are suffering today is because of our Igbo intellectuals. Nnamdi Kanu is a product of Igbo intellectuals, because they abandoned their responsibilities and left us, for us to be devoured. What you just narrated now, a lot of northern Nigerians have made more horrible comments than you, even than Nnamdi Kanu, and are still living in Nigeria. But because you are an Igbo man, that's why they chased you out of Nigeria. Because Nnamdi Kanu is an Igbo man, that's why Nnamdi Kanu is still in detention today. A lot of Yorubas have made a similar thing, comments about Nigeria, but they're still living in Nigeria. A lot of other people have made horrible things, comments about Nigeria. They're still living in Nigeria. But because Nnamdi Kanu is suffering today, because he's an Igbo man, you are running away, risking your life, because a well-educated Igbo man ran away from Nigeria because of what you said, the truth you have said, and this is what is happening in Nigeria today. I weep for my people. Thank you from here, for Germany.
All right, thank you, Richard. We have one last question from Kene.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Damages, and good to see you, Dr. Nwankwo. I actually don't have questions for Dr. Nwankwo, as you all may have, perceived. Dr. Nwankwo, I overheard you saying that your name is bigger than your body, and I agree totally with you, because Odogwu, that name Odogwu, Abrogan, you understand? So Odogwu is not a common name that of a case can, I know we all know what of a case is, right? Can bear. You have done really, really well to liberate our people. But unfortunately, and I'm pointing at our Igbo leaders. Unfortunately, the Igbo leaders don't work for the interests of Ndibo. They work for either their personal interests or for the interests of the Fulani Caliphate. And this is a truth. Nobody can argue that. So I was telling somebody that being a radical, I don't think there is anything wrong with being radicalized, especially when you are truthfully radical. And that is how, if I should define you, or if I should equate you with something, I would say that you are truthfully radical. And these are the kind of people I like to look up to, not people that tell white lies in order to feed into the false narrative. So say it the way it is, and if anybody likes that, fine. If you don't like it, we have a lot of transformer there. You can go help yourself and hug one. But in Nigeria is not a place where you have to be civil all the time. On this platform yesterday, I was telling them that in Nigeria, sometimes you don't have to be civil. You have to, face the issue the way it comes. We've been deceived and lied to, and unfortunately, we keep falling to that same deception, especially our so-called educated elite, which you are not in that class, obviously. They think they know it all, but they keep making blunders, and there's nothing ever that they've achieved from their education or what they think that they know better than others. It has been failing them. It has been failing everybody. But I wish they could listen to people like you and try to do the right thing. So there was a question asked about what transpired in Edo State, and you answered it the way I would have answered, but I may have something else to put, chip into that your response. And my response would have been, if somebody is afraid or scared of a replication of what happened in Rwanda to happen in Nigeria, my answer would have been that the larger population of Nigeria that is being terrorized by the 6% of Fulani terrorists, not even up to 6%, because not all Fulani are extremists, right? But the Fulani terrorists, the few percent of them cannot overwhelm the entire of Nigeria. So when Nigerians come together, the Ibos, the Yorubas, the Ishekiris, the Ishans, do all come together, we can easily squeeze them out from Nigeria. So I don't think anybody should be afraid of Rwanda. They are very few. They are powerless. The only thing that gives them, energize them right now is the government, how the government is being set up. So, Mr. Odogwu, I'm not here to ask you any question, but to commend you, to urge you to keep doing what you're doing. People are not going to like you. I have two categories of people that will be against you. One, the uneducated, the gullible ones, and maybe the illiterate, the ill-informed, and those that are against the truth. These people are not going to like you. But my prayer for you is that God will sustain you, give you more energy, protect you and your family to keep doing what you're doing. You can't change from it. This is how nature brought you. This is your nature. This is how God created you. You can't change it. It's not something you learn from school. It is how you are made. An education now added up to making it, go smoothly. So my prayer for you is that God will protect you. Indiana, the gods of our land, will protect you. That nothing will happen to you.
Yes,
keep up doing the good work. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. God bless you, Dalo.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Before you give us your last comment, I wanted to know if you remember one Professor Nwaezeigwe from UNN.
Yes. Nwaezeigwe used to be my political godfather, academic godfather, political godfather, until we had a problem over his conservative or reactionary stances, because he deviated greatly from the deal with which both of us normally agree to, because we have a standard. So I decided, especially when it came to Ned Nwoko, over Ned Nwoko, he was giving money by Ned Nwoko, and he started dancing around. And even when he came to Iwanyanwu, they were harassing him, he called me to defend him. After defending him against Iwanyanwu and so on and so forth, he came around to now tell another professor, another godfather of my professor, Emeka Nwabweze Emeritus, to tell me that why am I abusing Igbo leaders? So telling Iwanyanwu the right thing to do, that he was telling us to Fulani people, is abuse to him. But you told me that this man wanted to kill you. And I said, killing you because he was not going to apologize to Fulani people. And I asked, how many Fulani people have apologized to the number of Igbo people killed in the 1966 pogrom, killed in 1953 Kano riot, killed in 1945 Jos riot, and continue to be killed up to this moment? How many apologies have they rendered? That some gullible Igbo leaders will come and tell us that they want to apologize to Fulani. For Christ's sake, Nzogwu was my brother, my kinsman from Delta State. And if Fulani want any apology, they should now come to tell us in Delta State that why did our brother. And just as I wrote last time, I responded to Professor Bako, nonsensical inaugural lecture in Danfodio University, which is under publication now. I told them, look, that the killing of Sadona was quite in order. If another Sadona comes today and I'm in position, I will kill him just as Nzogwu did. In the first place, Nzogwu, they were accusing Igbo people of jubilating. I enumerated the number of Northern Fulani people who jubilated on the death of who jubilated for the death of Sadona of Sokoto. The emir, the emir of Kano, who was this Sanusi's grandfather, jubilated because Sadona sacked him. Egbira jubilated. Adama, a lot of emirs he dismissed, they jubilated for his death. Kano people jubilated because that was the center of opposition. They jubilated. Kano People's Party and Northern People's Element Union. They jubilated on his death. The Sultan of Sokoto jubilated because he was after his throne. So what they're talking about, Igbo people jubilated against Sadona of Sokoto, is that Middle Beltans also jubilated for his death because he was discriminating against them and forcing them into Islam. So, and Nwaezeigwe could not understand these facts. That is actually, and I still stand by my own ground because he deviated maybe out of spiritual poverty. You know, poverty has two sequences. You have the physical and the spiritual. The physical, when you are physically hungry, you can still retain your integrity. You can still maintain your integrity when it's all about physical hunger. But when the hunger goes into the spiritual level, everything, your integrity, your consciousness, your historical linkages, they're all subdued under the need for survival. I have died several times. You know what is death? I have died several times. And God said, you will not die again. And why should I be afraid to tell the truth? When there are more than 100 occasions, I should have died. If God had wanted me to stop talking, then I should have died since. Do you know in Baturi, I was locked up by gendarmerie. In Cameroon, I slept 3 days in the bush. They were chasing me. 3 days, rain fell on me in Cameroon. And when I came, gendarmerie locked me up. And when they locked me up, they were coming to demand for me to be executed. And the gendarmerie came and said, what did this man do? Because the worst country an opposition can go is Cameroon. It's disorganized and wicked, lawless. They don't, anything in life is nothing to them. So the man said, I did not do anything. Look, he was a Christian. And he drove me. Instead of protecting me, he drove me away. I went to police station. They drove me away. I ran into the bush. They chased me into the bush. In the night, I didn't know the Baturi, border to Congo Republic. I didn't know where I was going. Until I slept in the bush. In the morning, I was like a madman. I came to one man who was living alone in there. I said, I saw a Catholic church. I said, je n'ai pas le mal. You know, the little French, I'm not mad. Je suis le professeur. Je n'ai pas malade. I'm not mad. I'm a professor. He now took me to the priest. 2 priests. They came there, gave me bread and tea without sugar and this thing. And told me to wait, they will help me. They went and called gendarmerie. Gendarmerie took me and locked me up. I was 15 days there. When the man released me and they pursued me again, I slept the following day. Before I now ran the following day, I ran to the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, who now took me into custody. And after 15 days after 35 days in hospital custody, they now decided to issue me Central African Republic ID card. The Central African Republic ID card, they were still chasing me, that I used to move through northern Cameroon, try to enter Chad, Niger. It was there they told me that the president of Nigeria was from Niger Republic, that the southern one had left. If I go to Chad, they will kill me. So I decided to reach through Gamboru, Ngala, with that ID card to enter Nigeria. From Nigeria, I was from Gamboru to Meduguri. I've not been to Meduguri. Came there, any person I met, they did not take care of me. I still had money in the bank. I went and took money from the bank. My bank was on red. So when I was going to take the money in the, because I had my money in Access Bank, I also had in a Keystone Bank. The Access Bank is gated. It will be very difficult to escape. But Keystone Bank is open, no gate. So I prefer to go there where I have savings. So I knew I paid about 500,000 naira before I left. So I had some. So when I went there, the woman checked and saw that my bank is red. He said, no, I cannot receive. I should wait for his master to told his man, the manager was now calling security. When I wanted to go, he said, do you want to do anything? I said, I wanted to collect money. He said, okay, he gave me. I knew that when I demand, if I asked for 100,000, it will need confirmation from the accountant or the manager. So I asked for 95,000 naira. So as soon as they gave me 95,000 naira, I just fled. The security said, they are calling you nowhere. I started a keke without knowing where it's going. It was when we left. I told him to take me to where I would take a vehicle to Bauchi. When I got there, they were already chasing, looking at me. I discovered, I said, only 2 people were there. I said, can I pay for 2 people so we can go? They said, okay. And I discovered I've made a mistake. Then I started suspecting me and I left. Within a short, the came and told me, come now, they're waiting for me to. I said, I thought you have gone. He said, no, and I changed location. So while I was checking location, I just saw a bus coming. Kano. I just jumped in. I landed in Kano midnight. From Kano to Sokoto, from Kano to to Ilela boundary from Ilela, I enter Birnin Koni by Okada, Niger. You know, it is only in the south that you have borders. In the north, nothing like border control. When I enter from Cameroon to Gambori, the Nigerian immigration man was sleeping. When I enter from Ilela to Niger Republic to Birnin Koni in Niger Republic, they were just standing. It was just like no different country. It's only in Nigeria, only southern Nigeria. We operate 2 different countries in Nigeria, 2 different nations. One man by custom, the other man free. That was how I entered. I now entered Ilela. From Ilela to Birnin Koni in Niger, from Birnin Koni Niamey, from Niamey to B2. To B2 in Burkina Faso, B2 to Boko in Ghana, then from Boko to Accra. We are now stay 6 months. So it was I helped people, the Reverend Father in Uyo, who helped me and stole me. He housed me inside his parish for the night. So, and called a man who runs a secret jetty that transports diesel to Cameroon, and begged him. So it was that jetty that they carried me, because I can't climb because of my broken leg. Then they carried me into the jetty, carrying 12 drums of diesel. So for 6 hours, we were on Bakassi Peninsula until we landed in Limbe, and the jaw dropped. I didn't know where to go. It's a long story. And the Igbo people that helped me really. Because the man there, I met the only woman, the Calabar people I met, nobody agreed to accept me. No, only one pastor accepted me to sleep. The following, they took me to an Igbo man, Mr. Anthony from Ebonyi, from Arubo. He now took me to the head of Igbo, chairman of, president of Nigerian community there from Imo State. He said they will not keep me here, otherwise the Nigerian government will take me back immediately. He gave me an arrangement to go to Yaoundé. So it was there, and I started another level of suffering that I found myself at. They tried to kill me several times, but Cameroon is a worse place for an opposition to go. It's just by the grace of God that I'm living today. And that is why I cannot stop this battle, because I have seen death. There's nothing I can fear then. Let me stop today. It is a long story. I'm about to complete the story. Although part of it up to Togo was published, but I have to conclude it up to this place now.
Wow.
Up to Philippines. Yes. It's a long story. It's just God. It's just God.
Wow.
I don't own my life.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Tony Nwaezeigwe. It's been a wonderful day spending it with you. For those who are interested in reading some of his works, you can find them on wherever books are sold. This is his latest, Fulani Ethno-Islamic Conspiracy and Yoruba Subjugation, from Arale Afonja to Asiwaju Tinubu. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a new stream that will start very soon, which will be where you'll have opportunity to give us feedback on the conversation we had today. Dr. Odogwu Tony, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. God bless you. And everybody, thank you. God bless all of you.
All right. So if you want to support his work, you can buy his books. They are all over places that books are sold. And we will invite him again when the comprehensive story of his journey out of Nigeria is published. Again, thank you all. And let's take a break. And when we come back, we go to the next stream, which will be KJ will be the host. All right.
asim wenye mazolo bio akwa nwa zoro bio Max ibia bunye lokwanu mo no fube nazo Olaga ni biazugo Mmanwu ulaga do ni biazugo akwa nwa wilochi o biko rapuzoro kona bazia Onyo mazoro biko Abamba watara dasari Ibia unye ni gana mo Ulaga do ni biazugo Ulaga do ni biazugo Abamba wilochi o biko rapuzoro
Thank you very much.
Mazi welcome. Odogwu no President Onyo mani gadele mo. Mazi ni President.
Yeah. Yes.
Even when it's melody.
It's one people because
you got to go where you're from. Odogwu natural no car. Is it one them nigga Olaga doni bezugo. Olaga doni bezugo. Mama wilo chilo bigora. Say, Onyamazoro, Amamazoro, sorry. If I were to go on a move, Olaga, don't Piazugo, Nazaboy, Molaga, don't Piazugo, Amamilo Chilo, Bigo Rapuzoro. Odogwu kenelu bikechoko Amakwa mnika gogodia Waligwe kwelo Ikejobo belebege Hey, you won! Egu kampune kene Omogo ndi so Chukwe mekalumo Ike chukwu negaji Esi wane mekene Ila puli fenili nemewe Kago sili na nina kibu wane wisdom negaji Kanyegi Mike Kogo Banya Begu Esele Maxi Obune Tiregua Malokwa Maloni Megomi Fojo Wesigi Mwane Mi Fokune Cholo Nangeme Wisdom Onume Kenege Bama Iyo Iyo Bigo Lapo Nabase Zero, 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 zero. Deduru joy na bugwa osa Sokoto Ujembe mwilo Anu solo mwe manofia nara Onye nwuro zurike
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today, and we appreciate all of you. We are now going to go over to the next stream, which you have KJ ready to host. I want to thank those who supported us on today's show. T. Majek, Man of Prestige, Kulata, Real IK, AY for Real, T. Majek, Alexander Gomez, Oriako Tope. We appreciate all of you, Kulata. Thank you so much for supporting us. Next week, we are going to bring you another interesting guest on the show for 90 minutes. Thank you, those who wrote comments, those who watched at home, and those who joined the panel for questioning. I hope it was worth your time. I'll see you next Saturday. In the meantime, let's move over to the next stream where we get a chance to have feedback on what happened today. Until next Saturday, thank you and have a nice week.